Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. Now, what are companion videos? Well, I'm awfully glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we take time in the second half of the show to take your live comments and questions. However, we usually don't have enough time to get through all the live comments and questions that get sent in, but I want to make sure that you guys don't have to wait too long to get them answered, so we gather those questions up and we address them here on companion videos. And of course, I and all of us are lucky enough today, once again, to be joined by Kimberly Curran. Kimberly, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Doing good.
We were just talking about WandaVision.
Man, countdown. Are we starting the countdown yet?
The countdown has started. The countdown has started. We were just talking about how it's like whether or not, I mean, we're lucky in the sense that we live on, in the Pacific Standard Time. So we can stay up late. Like there are people who stay up on the East Coast to watch WandaVision at like 3 a.m.
Oh, it's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. So we're lucky. We only have to stay up till midnight.
I scheduled in a nap on the last one because I was way too tired and I had to get up early the next day. So I scheduled in a nap so I could get up at like 11 so I could watch it.
That's a good idea.
It's a part of my day.
Not get up at 5 to 12 because you want an hour to get your head cleared. You want to be sharp watching it.
Yep.
Well, listen, guys, we have a lot of questions to get through, so let's not waste any more time and let's get right to it. So, Kimberly, what is first?
All right. This is coming from Jonathan. The MCU has largely been based on science. Thor. I come from a world where science and magic are one and the same. Doctor Strange draws power from other dimensions. Wanda and Pietro acquire powers via experiments to have literal magic, like Harry Potter or something of that nature. Kind of breaks the consistency. I mean, Agatha is a literal witch, right? Nothing sci-fi there, right? I don't know. Your thoughts on this? I feel like the MCU is best when it's grounded in some possible science.
Okay, so here's the thing. The MCU continues to grow and evolve by doing things it hasn't done before. Everything in Marvel had really been mostly terrestrial until they did Thor, and suddenly we're on Asgard. And then they did the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now they're in the deepest reaches of space. They'd never really done horror before until they kind of got into Doctor Strange a little bit. WandaVision in and of itself is kind of breaking new ground. So, and listen, we know we're getting Blade. We've never had vampires in the MCU before either, right? Yeah. But Blade is coming. So that's the thing the MCU always has to do is look for new ways to expand and do things. And yeah, you can bring in new stuff. And I'm still not convinced Agatha is actually real. But we'll find out. We'll see soon enough. But no, I think it's good for them to push their boundaries, introduce new elements. That's always going to be the challenging thing to do. All right, what's next?
Let Them Eat Popcorn says, with the mounting accusations of alleged workplace misconduct, no upcoming projects announced, and now the Zack Snyder Justice League Vanity Fair article where WB executives trash Joss Whedon. Is Joss Whedon's career over for the foreseeable future amid Hollywood distancing?
This, of course, it's been a really, as a fan, a very difficult one for me because I am and have been such a huge fan of Joss Whedon, a fan of his work, and every time I've had the chance to get together with him, he's always been very kind and very nice, but it is very disturbing. When you start reading things from Charisma Carpenter, and then again, Sarah Michelle Gellar, who never says anything, like she never gets into the fray of anything. And it's a very, very disappointing thing for me as a fan to hear. Now, the reality is Joss Whedon has really hasn't wanted to do much for a long time and for a while. So I don't know where things are with that. Again, it's just, for me as a fan, and again, I was never there. Like, I have no idea if what, Charisma Carpenter is saying is accurate. I'm not suggesting she's lying, but, her perception. I don't know if Joss Whedon didn't do anything. I wasn't there. But, as a fan of the guy, it is extremely disappointing to hear this kind of stuff. And again, it's hard to say, well, because of all this, he's not going to work much in the next while, because he hasn't really seemed to have been wanting to work much lately anyway. So I'm not quite sure what the outcome will be. But yeah, I'm not TMZ. I don't go looking into the personal away from the camera stuff. But again, as a fan of Joss Whedon, it's very, very disappointing for me to hear. So there's that. All right, what's next?
Blake says, if we all find out Quicksilver ends up being from the multiverse in WandaVision, does that prove that Mysterio knew about or telling the truth about the multiverse? And how come no one else knew about it?
No, even if it turns out that Evan Peters is playing the X-Men version of Quicksilver, that doesn't change a thing about what Quentin Beck knew or didn't know. Spider-Man Far From Home made it really clear. This was all a scam that he was running. You know, he was aware of what the Avengers talked about as far as, you know, I think the public knows about changing times and doing all that kind of stuff. And he just piggybacked on that as an excuse. But I don't think it is him. I don't think it would prove him having a greater awareness of these things in there, because I thought the movie made it pretty clear it was all a scam to him. At least to him it was. All right, what's next?
This is coming from Pedrick Conway. People seem to want Pietro and Tommy slow-mo scene with Sweet Dreams playing in the WandaVision finale. But wouldn't Time in a Bottle be better to play than Sweet Dreams? I just think that's the better Quicksilver scene. Oh,
well, listen, first of all, that, of course, it's assuming a couple things. You're assuming that this is actually Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men universe, which I'm more open to it now than I was before, but I'm still not there, so don't believe that. And then, you know, why replay the same scene you've already done twice? So I'm going to guess they probably won't. And if you do, then you certainly don't double down on just doing something you've already done by using one of the pre-existing songs. I think, number one, if that's actually Pietro from the Fox X-Men universe, and I don't think it is, and if they do the same kind of slowed down speed scene with him that they did in the other Fox things, which I'm not sure that they would, then I don't think they would still go back and just use one of the songs they had done. I think they would probably pick something completely different. All right, what's next?
This is from Alex Von Gollum. Hi, glorious team, Gio and Rob. In trying to link the last two WandaVision commercials, this came to my mind. What if the Nexus is the Yo Magic? If you want to switch realities, you need to consume Yo Magic. So, what is the source of Yo Magic? Agatha's book?
No, I don't think, I mean, that's an interesting theory, but I think the book is something she's trying to feed. I mean, at least that's what it looked like to me. I think she's trying to get power for the book to maybe break something out of the book. The problem with that, of course, is the whole phrase, Yo Magic. Like, this is insinuating, I feed on your magic. I feed on your magic. And then the kid sitting there withers away and dies. So, I don't know. I mean, listen, it could be, Alex. I mean, there's a lot of theories going around out there, some of which have been verified, some debunked, and all that kind of stuff. So it's possible, but I really don't think Yo Magic is a direct reference to the Nexus. I think that really was more literal. I feed on your magic. That's how I took it at any rate. All right. What's next?
Cam K says, hey, John, the voice behind that scene with Wanda referring to her deserving this is 100% Agatha confirmed. Take the audio and turn up the pitch. And it's 100% Catherine Hahn's voice. No exaggeration. It's clear as day.
Yeah, somebody else wrote in and asked me about that. And I said, to me, like, I always thought it sounded like, even when they said, don't you think you deserve this? To me, I immediately thought that sounds like an altered voice. It totally sounded like an altered voice. So when they showed it was Catherine Hahn behind the camera later on, it's like, oh yeah, that was her voice. That was clearly her voice. So that is something I was already assuming, Cam, but I didn't take the voice to slow it down or speed it up, but I'm glad you did that homework for us because yeah, that's exactly what I thought before. All right, what's next?
Homelander's doppelganger says, hey, John, I think the engineer is going to be John Boyega as Blue Marvel. Personally, I think it would be pretty cool. Thoughts? Anyway, been listening for a long time. Love the show, and you know what they say. Happy Uma, happy Homia.
Happy Uma. No, I don't think it's going to be John Boyega. But Blue Marvel, first of all, there may not be an engineer. Let's understand that. There may not be an engineer. However, unlike a lot of people who, because he didn't show up in episode 7, now just assume he's not going to be there, I think there's still a chance he may show up. And Blue Marvel is one of the guys that I suggested that it could end up being. After all, he is an engineer, even though in the comics he's an electrical engineer, but Pshaw, they'll make that one little change. Also, he's connected to Monica Rambeau in the comics because he dated Monica Rambeau in the comics. So there's that, all that kind of stuff. I highly doubt that if they do have Blue Marvel in there, and that's a huge if, that it would be John Boyega. John Boyega and Disney seem to be on a bit of the outs right now, so I wouldn't expect that it would be John Boyega. But listen, we live in a world where Jamie Foxx is coming back to play Electro, and in that world, anything can happen. All right, what's next?
Ambassador Spock says, "Hey, John, episode 7, Tibid, mind blown. Maybe LOL. I'm thinking one of your viewers saying Agatha is an extension of Wanda is true. When they did the whole to Agatha, we didn't see everything of her. She appears as a cloud from the waist down with the waist down and seem to be in all black. And then we see her change to what we see as the camera pans up with a little bit of purple surrounding her as the introduction starts. It's all in the details, John. Happy hunting from Orlando, Florida."
Now, this was my thing coming into this. I was like everybody else thinking, okay, so it's Agatha, but I never thought it was all Agatha. I still think it's a lot of it is Wanda. But then one of our viewers wrote in and said, "John, what about this? What if Agatha isn't even real? What if Agatha is just an extension of the Agnes character, and she is still just a character in this story Wanda is creating for herself? She's now that's why Agatha got her own theme song and her own television opening, because she is part of the show." And I thought about that, and you and I talked about that, because I have no idea if that's what they're going to do. But I love the theory, because then somebody was saying to me, they said, every movie has ended in tragedy for Wanda.
Yeah.
And like the Ultron battle, loses her brother. In the battle, in Infinity War battle, loses Vision, right? So she's created a bad guy now. So her and Vision can team up and fight the bad guy and win the day. And because WandaVision needed a villain, again, I am in no way, shape, or form convinced that's what they're going to do, but I love the theory. I think it sounds awesome. Where are you on that right now?
That's a really cool theory. And I started thinking, you know what, you're right. She hasn't had a good ending. Like, Iron Man ended well. He came home. He saved the day. He, accepted it, announced he was Iron Man. But for her, I thought to myself, if this ends well, what would that look like?
Right.
And I think it would look like acceptance and kind of helping someone else that's in the hex. One of those characters is dealing with something tough too. The workplace guy, his dad was sick, everyone's hurting. So maybe she can help someone else realize that they need to accept something. And instead of it being a really good ending, it could be like this acceptance and like, now I need to move on. But then where would we go for Doctor Strange 2? So,
I'm still thinking this is going to end badly.
I'll
really badly. All right, what's next?
War Doctor 10 says, "Hi, John and crew. So I think that the Spider-Man cast is trolling everyone with these titles. I mean, first it was Spider-Man Phone Home, then Home Wrecker, and finally Home Slice, all coming from the main three's Instagram accounts. Thoughts?"
I don't know if you saw this earlier, like last night leading in today, but the three main cast, Zendaya, Jacob Bartolone, and Tom Holland, the three main characters in Spider-Man, they released all on their Instagram accounts this new picture from the movie with like the three characters in the basement. And they said, swipe right to see the new title. Can't wait. And Tom Holland's was Spider-Man Phone Home. Jacob Bartolone's was Spider-Man Home Wrecker.
Was it Home Wrecker? Yeah.
And Zendaya's was Home Slice. It's like,
that was so funny.
Okay. Like when Tom Holland put out Phone Home, I'm like, that's a weird one, but okay. And I bought into it.
I almost thought that was...
Because right, there's nothing wrong with that title. Like Phone Home, okay. There's something, maybe a little alien connection or something. And then as soon as Jacob put out his, I was like, okay, so this is clearly all thing. Then they announced the actual title today, which is, of course, No Way Home. So the new one is called Spider-Man No Way Home. So yes, the moment, like when Tom put the first one out, I bought into it. It's like, oh, okay, that's the title. As soon as the other ones came out, it's fake. But I don't know, what do you think about the title No Way Home? What does that tell you? What does that, how does that speak to your soul? What does that tell you?
Speaks to my soul that the first thing, and I know this probably might not happen, the first thing I thought is that I don't care what they've said about Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire not in it. I thought there would be a multiverse situation.
Right.
There would be some switch ups. And before, the portal could allow him to go home, it would close. And it would be like
So you think it's
You're
connected to multiverse?
stuck.
That the word?
I feel like it has to. No
Right.
Way Home. What you lost your GPS? Like Friday's not working today? Like what? Or what was the new?
Maybe his car gets stolen.
AI.
I don't know.
Maybe his car gets stolen. It could be. I mean, the Spider-Man movies have been so funny.
Yeah.
So maybe it could be like throughout the movie they just carry the thing of like every opportunity to get home, it gets screwed up. But
it is probably multiverse.
But I'm
it is
thinking
probably.
multiverse.
Probably. All right. What's next?
Canadian Singing Postie says, okay. You all are giving us posties a bad name with this Wanda postal guy. He looks like he's doing his job diligently and seems to put a smile on everyone's face. Gives comforting advice. I mean, come on. We work hard and are not shady at all.
Oh, no. You're all shady. You're all shady. All of you. Every postman. I just know there's something. They're just trying to scope out my house. That's it. Every time I see a postman. No, seriously, though. But I think it's what it is, though. It's the lines that he's saying. Like when the kids are looking for their dog and he says something along the lines of, your mom won't let anything happen, or something along those lines, right? So it's not just that he's a friendly post. It's the little things, Posty. It's the little things. All right, what's next?
Jake H says, I rewatched Age of Ultron, and in it they bring up Nexus. They say it's an information center of some sorts. Since Nexus is already in the MCU, I doubt it's the multiverse tie-in link. Is it in the comics?
Honestly, the thing that they mention in Ultron is not what they're talking about in this commercial. Listen, Nexus is actually a standard word. It can apply to 1,000 different things. So just because one thing was referred to as a Nexus in that movie doesn't mean that must be the same thing they're talking about. It's not. The Nexus of all realities is a totally different thing than the thing they were talking about. And clearly the way they described it in the commercial, don't like your life in this thing? Try it in a different thing. I mean, clearly it's a reference to the Nexus of all realities. So yeah, I understand they did mention the word Nexus before. No connection here. At least I'll be completely shocked if there was. All right, what's next?
Westview's HR department says,
I like that name.
That's hilarious. New WandaVision theory. Wanda is controlling all of us like puppets tangled in strings. We think we're watching a little fun TV show, but really, we're just inside the hex. It's all hail Overlord Wanda. Hashtag Rob is Mephisto.
It's a giant social experiment. We are actually all in Wanda's hex, and we are all like, we're going to be watching this thing, and then somehow Kevin Feige's found a way to take control of the web cameras in her house, and we're going to be watching it, and Wanda's going to say, I can see through the dimensions who's the villain, and then your own face is going to pop up on the TV through some sort of webcam. Giant social commentary experiment here by Kevin Feige. The man is brilliant. All right, what's next?
Patrick says, hi, John. Just a tip that Mina Masood's name is said Masood. Rhymes with dude. Hope he is the next Ezra.
I was told, because I remember when he was coming to star in Aladdin, I had never heard of the gentleman, and I was told the proper pronunciation was Masood. But look, I don't care. It's not my name, so I don't care. Masoud. Look, I'm going to stick with Masoud just because I was told that was it. But if I'm corrected again by a few people that it is Masood, then I will alter that. Either way, I like this kid. I really liked him in Aladdin. And if he is Ezra, and I am by no way, shape, or form confirming that he is, but if he is, it's a nice casting. It's going to be good to see him in another thing. All right, what's next?
Coming from Dark Knight Rises. Hi, John. I would like to send you a Texas flag for your studio if you would put it up.
I would not put it up. The only flag that goes in any of my rooms is not a California flag. It's not a province of Ontario flag. It's not no, it's the Canadian flag. That is the only flag that goes up in my room. But thank you very much. I mean, I would take it and treasure it and keep it, but no, I would not go up in my studio. Just being honest with you, just letting you know. All right, what's next?
Guillaume Labelle says, hey, John and Rob, just finished watching the Superman and Lois pilot, and to my surprise, it's a pretty good start. I know you've been burned by the soups before, but I do think you'd like it. Not a big CW fan myself, but it looks promising.
So I reviewed on the John Campea Show a little bit earlier today the first episode of Superman and Lois. Of course, this Superman is somebody that the CW up to this point has continuously bent over and crapped all over. They have completely misused this character with the utmost of disrespect every single chance they've had. However, I was told by somebody I know that I really should give the pilot episode a shot. I did. And to my surprise, it's much better than I thought it would be. It is much better than I thought it would be. However, it's not great. because it is, and I said this in the show earlier today, it suffers from multiple personality disorder. The first half of the pilot really felt like an HBO show. And I mean that as the highest compliment, because I believe HBO is the king of the hill when it comes to making original content. Unfortunately, when you get into the second half of the pilot, it started feeling like very familiar CW show. And so hey, listen, again, at the end of the day, it was way better than I thought it would be. And I will be interested to see episodes 2 and 3 to see, do they stay more HBO-ish or do they continue down the CW-ishness of it? We'll wait and see. All right. Thanks for that. What's next?
Preston the Kryptonian says, so if the MCU existed in the same universe as Back to the Future, during the first episode when the sitcom is set in the 50s and Evan Peters arrives at that time, Old Man Peabody would have shown up with his shotgun and shouted, "Take that, you mutated son of a bitch," and ran him off. I guess that's why mutants, X-Men can't get a break in the MCU.
Look, Preston, all I'm saying is, if the nexus of all realities actually is coming into play here in the show, never know. You could see a younger Doc Brown come walking through there and proclaiming Great Scott. I don't know. I'm just saying these things are on the table, Preston. These things are on the table. All right. What's next?
Oscar Luca, class of 98, says, hey, John. So I heard that WB plans to do a gender switch with their upcoming Plastic Man, aka Plastic Woman film. My question is, do you think this is a good move on their part to switch genders for this iconic DC comedy character, or will it backfire on WB?
Well, Oscar Luca, I got to ask you what your definition of iconic is, because ain't nobody knows who the fuck Plastic Man is. Sorry, nobody knows or cares who Plastic Man is. They just don't. There's a few select of us who do. A bunch of people watching this show, and the type of people who would watch this show probably do. Other than that, nobody gives a crap. This is not Superman. This is not Captain America. This is not Wonder Woman, and it is not Batman. It's Plastic Man. And aside from that, my understanding of it is that I think this is, if I heard it right, this is going to be a character that is in the same world as Plastic Man, but she's going to be something different. Look, to me, it's always been this. When it comes to particular characters, when it comes to their gender, ethnicity, whatever, I don't give a shit. I really don't care. The only thing I really care about when it comes to fictitious make-believe characters is take the core essential DNA of who and what makes that character unique. If you take those things and apply them to an actor, great. And if one of those key essential things is their eye color, fine. But if it is not the core essential thing to understand about this character is their eye color, then who cares if the actor has a different eye color? Who cares that the actor has a different hair color? Who cares if the actor has a different color skin? And who the hell cares if they have a dick or not? It doesn't matter most of the time. Most of the time. There are exceptions, of course. But with Plastic Man, again, I just question your use of the word iconic. And by the way, I'm not crapping over the Plastic Man character. I'm just stating a fact. You know, my litmus test of what the general movie-going audience cares about is my mom, because my mom's a big movie fan, but she's not like hardcore. And if I go and ask my mom, you know who Plastic Man is? She ain't gonna know who Plastic Man is. Maybe she's heard the name. She has no idea who that is. So, nah, I don't think it matters. Look, at the end of the day, the only way this is going to backfire is if it's a terrible movie. And if it's a terrible movie, it's a terrible movie. But if it's a terrible movie, it would have been terrible whether they make this character male or female anyway. If the movie's great, it won't be because they changed the genders of a character. It'll be because the movie's great. So to me, it's much ado. I'll be honest. Now, if we were talking about Superman or if we were talking about Captain America, there'd be more of a discussion to have. But we're talking about, I feel like Allen Iverson. Practice? We're talking about Plastic Man? We're talking about Plastic Man? No. So no, to me, it's not a deal. It's not a big deal. All right. What's next?
David B. says, why does no one else see the truth about Evan Peters? It's obvious that casting has never seen an X-Men movie, and casting him was, as Bob Ross says, a happy little accident. Just kidding. You guys are awesome.
Listen, nobody believes this. And I admit, with recent episodes, I'm starting to be a little bit shaky in my own convictions. But right from the beginning, I thought, The casting of Evan Peters in this role is just a massive misdirect for the fans. He's just not going to be the Fox X-Men thing. Now, again, last couple episodes, especially Wanda and Vision saying he's an imposter is making me think maybe he's not. So I'm starting to be a little shaky myself, but we'll see how this turns out. 2 episodes left, my friends. 2 episodes left. All right, what's next?
Is Superman and Lois good? Says, it's finally here. The jobber has his show. All jokes aside, I watched the pilot and I'm super impressed on how they found a new way to explore the Superman character. By the end, they won me over. Feels more Man of Steel than CW, and it's actually about Superman.
Yeah, again, they did a number of things in here that were way better than I thought. I love the angle of like, he's a father of 2 teenage boys. Sometimes they don't like him. Sometimes they're angry at him. And he's just trying to figure out and find his way. Listen, that was the HBO part of it. And I really did like it. And, you know, the passing of Ma Kent and, you know, the whole going home thing. Listen, there was a lot of things they did well. I think the villain looked really stupid. And I don't like the fact that Superman's very first fight, he just literally can't even get in a shot. He just literally has his ass completely handed to him from pillar to post. It's like, oh, yeah, that's right. CW doesn't know how to put Superman in something without getting him thoroughly trashed. Like, not even a close fight. It's cool if he loses a close fight, just trash. But I will say, I was pleasantly surprised, and I will be curious to see where the next 2 episodes go. All right, what's next?
Aaron No Naka says, hi, John. WandaVision theory. We got a mid-credits season in episode 8 because of the 2010s setting. I'm going to start that over. Hi, John.
This is not an easy one to read.
WandaVision theory. We got a mid-credits scene in episode 8 because of the 2010s setting. That was when mid-post credit scenes became the norm. Thoughts? Love your doc.
By the way, it was episode 7. It's an interesting theory. No, what I just don't think they wanted to do was have to have 9 post-credit scenes in the thing, right? So I think they just waited till episode 7. But the note, and by the way, post-credit scenes were around long before that. I mean, you just go back to so-and-so's Day Off, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Just go back to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That had a post-credit scene. That was like way before that. But I mean, it's an interesting theory way to look at it. And I do think we are going to get post-credit scenes in episode 8 and 9 now that they've broke the seal. All right, what's next?
BW Rosas 1979-98 Walmer says, hey, John. So this year will mark 35 years since the animated Transformers film came out. My question to you are, 1, do you get a chance to see in theaters? 2, do you think it deserves the backlash it gets because of the violent scene in it by parents?
I never did get to watch it. I didn't watch it in theater. No, I watched it after the fact. I've never heard backlash. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying I personally wasn't aware of it. I was not aware of backlash from parents, but it got a hell of a lot of backlash from me. I grew up as a Transformers kid. I bought, so this is true.
Okay.
Tell me, you know, teenage girl, you meet a young guy who does this, and tell me if your first thought is, I got to date this guy. So what I would do is I would buy every Transformer, right? Okay. And they came in these boxes where they had a box with an illustrated thing of the character on the front of the box. Then on the back of the box was this template showing their power levels, intelligence, strength, firepower, leadership, right? With another portrait of the character and a description. So what I would do is I would buy these toys, and then I would cut out the illustrated thing from the front, and then cut off the back of the box, and I would put them up on my bedroom wall. So I would have, you know, I would have Thundercracker.
An encyclopedia of sorts.
My whole wall was covered with Transformers power levels and blah, blah, blah. Now, this may surprise you and all the audience at home. I never had a lot of young ladies coming into my room when I was younger, but nonetheless, I was a Transformers kid. I love them.
That's awesome.
And then the Transformers animated movie came out. And I remember I said this when my wife Ann was still working at Hasbro. Hasbro. Because here's what they did. The animated Transformers movie, while having some very good music in it, was nothing but Hasbro giving a giant FU double Fers to all the kids who had spent a couple of years and all of their allowance money buying their Transformers toys. So you know what they did in this movie? In the first 5 minutes of the Transformers animated film, they killed all the Transformers. All of them. Optimus Prime. I mean, everyone. All the Autobots. All my favorites.
What?
All of everything. They killed them all.
Why?
With a couple of, like, Bumblebee didn't die, but there was like all the rest of it. Bumblebee and Jazz. I think Bumblebee and Jazz were the only two Autobots. There's like 40 others killed. Some of the Decepticons survived, but basically the first 5 to 10 minutes of Transformers movie is them killing all the Transformers and then having a new generation of Transformers there. So it was Hasbro going, hey kids, you know all that money you spent, all your allowance, you know how you supported our thing? Yeah, guess what? They're all dead now, kids. You have to go out and buy these new toys now.
That's traumatizing.
You gotta go out and get Cup.
That sucks.
There was a Transformers named Cup. K-U-P.
But was he a cup that turns into like...
No, he was some
then that's lame.
alien-looking car. And I remember as a kid, and they're telling me I should go buy Cup. And I'm like, what the fuck is a Cup? And I didn't care.
That's like starting a movie with Infinity War and then going into X-Men.
Yes. Now, some good things came out of it.
Why?
Some good things came out of it. I mean, in that movie, Megatron sort of dies, but really he's remade by Unicron into a new version called Galvatron. And Galvatron was very cool. But then you had these stupid Decepticon things like the sweeps, which were just ridiculous. And so I'm not aware, BW Rosa, of parental backlash from violence. I'm not for, because Transformers shows were always violent. They get backlash from me because that whole movie was a giant PR company. It was an entire marketing department just saying, it was the marketing department that made that movie. Because they just kill everybody, replace them all with new toys and say, go ahead, kids, throw out those toys you used to have. Now go buy the new ones. I hated them for that.
I can just see little John yelling at his wall, going, damn you, and then just crunching all of your little tags.
I did. It's like, well, they killed you, and they killed you. Take that one down, and they killed you. They took that. I was so mad. I hated them. I was so mad at them for so long. So mad for so long. All right. Sorry, I went off on that a little bit longer than I should have. What's next?
Omar from the Bronx says, hey, fellas, with the MCU being based in science and our most powerful Earth-based heroes being infused with cosmic artifacts, won't mutants be a little out of place? Telekinesis and controlling metal from mutation seems implausible in the current MCU.
Well, the god of thunder from Asgard is a little implausible as well. I mean, listen, Iron Man started with Tony Stark literally in a cave hammering metal and soldering wires together and making, the Mark I, and then updating that once he got home to the Mark II. And then we went from that to Infinity War, where it's not even an Iron Man suit anymore. And now it's just magic. John, it's called nanotech. No, that's not how nanotechnology works. It's magic.
Not a thing.
Yeah. The Iron Man suit in Infinity War and Endgame turned into magic. I mean, it's just straight up. It just turned into magic. It's like, wait a minute. Your magic nanosuit has like magic healing foam. Remember, he's got that big stab wound. Good thing I got the magic healing foam. It's like, really? That was just hiding around in your little nanotech? Anyway, so no, the idea of mutants, if anything, the idea of mutants is actually more, to use a phrase from Robert Meyer Burnett, verisimilitude. It feels more real. Genetic mutation that we change, we evolve, and it causes certain things. So, no, I think it'll fit. Here's my question, though.
Yes, sir.
In a world that is already filled with superpowered beings, why would anybody care if somebody was a mutant or not? Now, I've asked this question about the comic books, too. It's like, because, the society is supposed to fear and hate mutants, and mutants fight for a world that fear and hate them. At least the X-Men do.
Yeah.
But it's like, everywhere you look in the MCU universe, there's 45 people with superpowers. Is the society really going to go, wait a minute, this one has superpowers, but he was born with them. We hate them. That's going to be the harder part going into that. Like, have you developed any theories of your own how they're going to bring X-Men into this whole thing since they haven't existed there so far?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the way, I think it bothers people because the way Iron Man happened, and especially if you're like, you like to deep dive into Instagram and YouTube and you see that people are actually making real like Iron Man suits, is because it feels so grounded. It feels like this could be real. I mean, obviously there's a breaking point where it's like, it could be real and that's not going to be real,
Right,
but
right.
it feels so real. So when you just start with magic, it's like, oh, well, but I think mutation makes sense. And I really feel like with what Wanda's doing, it makes so much sense for mutation to occur. But again, I know we're a couple years off, but I feel like the Hex could be a great jumping point to mutation, because when people come out of it, just like, you know, stuff happened to Monica when she went in.
Right.
When people come out and get married and have kids or what have you, mutation totally makes sense. I'm a product of the Hex. I'm a product of the Hex. I'm a product of the Hex. See, makes sense to me.
Yeah, and you're not alone. There's a bunch of people that have the theory. The reason I don't like that is because the whole idea about mutation is supposed to be the next natural evolution. It's supposed to be a natural thing. And that's why it was always the allegory with Stan Lee, right? Like Stan Lee always said it was that the X-Men was an allegory of racial injustice in the America and stuff like that. And that's why they were always emphasized that this was just part of evolution. It didn't happen to them. There wasn't a magic hex that made them that way. It was natural. Like just over the generations, the next stage of human evolution happens, and that's what they call Homo superior. It's what they call their mutants, is Homo superior. Instead of we're Homo sapiens, then emerges. So we had Homo sapiens emerge from the previous evolution, and then now coming out of Homo sapien is Homo superior. And so they could be going with the hex thing. I just think it kind of betrays that. What are you thinking now? You got the gears moving?
I had a thought. Beep, boop, beep, boop. I had a thought. Okay, so you know how Vision's work buddy was like, my dad is sick and my sister's taking care of him. And it's to me, I'm like, why did he mention that? Probably to humanize the people and go, hey, these are real living people. Thought, but also, if the mutants have been laying dormant this whole time, like, look, let's not call attention. People get freaked out. But what if one of them has a family member in the Hex and they're like, you know what? These Avengers have gotten out of hand. I'm going to have to use my powers. I don't care who sees it, but my dad is in there and she's turned his mind, or my brother's in there. And, you know, what if one of the mutants is related to someone in the Hex?
So you're
and
suggesting
they think it's like,
maybe they're going to say the mutants have been there the whole time.
Because with the Avengers, it's like, oh, I'm a mutant. Let me show my powers and help people. And then Iron Man comes along and you're like, oh, phew, glad I didn't have to show my powers. Look, these Avengers guys got it. But now you want to take my family member and put them in your little TV show for your own good? Oh, I'm going to have to show down.
The problem with that, though, is if there are thousands of mutants out there, not one of them has used them to rob a bank or to do, like, accidentally showed off their power. I don't know. I don't have any better theory. I have no better theories. Your theory is as good as any I've heard, and certainly better than any of mine. But it's going to be tricky what Kevin Feige has to pull off here. All right, what's next?
Kiss My Ex says, hey, John, I had to do 76 double takes when I looked at the NHL standings and saw your Toronto Maple Leafs #1. Do you think it's finally your team's time to shine? Thanks, and keep bringing that sweet maple syrup filthy.
I said 2 years ago when people started getting excited about them, I said, they're not ready. They're not ready. Give them a couple more years. They've added, obviously, like the cap, they've added a couple of very key pieces. I don't see it yet. I don't think this is their year. But I do see they are poised really well. Their contracts are structured well. They have great young talent as well, mixture of old. Plus, we've got some really good free agency coming up. I actually think Toronto right now, maybe more than any time in my lifetime, is positioned for a good 5 or 6 year run of success. And in one of those years, it could be, I still don't think it's this year, but I think it could be to come. But I'd rather not talk about it because I don't want to jinx it. The Toronto Maple Leafs have not made it to the Stanley Cup Finals the entire time I have drawn breath on this earth, so I don't want to jinx it quite yet. So, yeah. Anyway, what's next?
Andy Hong says, I thought the idea of a Superman and Lois TV series was a dumb idea, especially since they were using the Superman from the Arrowverse. I wasn't looking forward to it at all. Then I saw the pilot episode and I couldn't believe this show was developed and produced by Greg Berlanti, Who does the same for Supergirl? The show was an excellent balance of Zack Snyder's Man of Steel and Richard Donner's Superman. The pilot episode is incredible and made me reminisce of Man of Steel. In fact, I have a sudden urge to rewatch Man of Steel. I kept asking myself throughout the entire pilot, this Superman jobs to Supergirl. I'm still in disbelief that this show is the Arrowverse because it's way more mature and nuanced than those other shows. And it looks like HBO Max made this, let me scroll, show instead of the CW. I hope they never cross over with any of the CW shows because it would be so tonally distracting and weighed down by the declining quality of the other shows. And we all know we just have to job to Supergirl again.
Again, this goes right back to the thing. This was, Andy, much better than I thought it would be. Now, I did not think it was fantastic because half of it, again, it seems split personality. Half of it felt like an HBO show, half of it kind of CW show. Like how the boys suddenly were like, I think there's something alien about us. Wait, what? What? Because you didn't get hurt when something happened when there could have been other explanations. But that aside, there's still a lot of CW DNA in there. But that said, it does have a lot of promise. It really does. And I like the general approach. Again, for me, I'm not going to jump to any conclusion about it till I see in episodes 2 and 3. I think we got a taste, but we need a couple more episodes, I think, to see what is this show really going to be. And I suspect it won't be good, but it started off pretty good. And that's way better than I thought it would be. So I'm going to be very curious, Sandy, to see who goes. I'm glad you enjoyed it so much, man. Let's see which way this thing goes. All right, what's next?
Amir says, hey guys, my dad died 13 years ago today, and every year I watch Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Oh, that's awesome.
It means more to me than any other film because it's the film my dad took me to watch. We actually went to watch Batman 89 that day, but it was sold out. It's the only film we ever saw together at the cinema, so anytime I see it on TV, all those memories come rushing back. Even today, 30 plus years later, whenever it's on, I turn to my wife and say, my dad took me to watch this. Well,
that's one of the beauty. Look, we've talked about this before. You guys know my story. Like I went to my best friend growing up died a couple of years ago. And I will always think about he and I taking the bus downtown Hamilton to go see Tim Burton's Batman as kids. And now whenever I see any incarnation of Batman, I think of my buddy. And that's one of the beautiful things about movies. I always say that movies are experiential events. As such, like any experience, they're best done with other people. And when you share those experiences, there's nothing more powerful than shared experiences. And they stay with us. And so we constantly get people writing in, like yourself, Amir, writing in to say, you know, my uncle took me to see this when I was a kid, and I think of him, and so on and so forth. And that, for you, Amir, first of all, how fortuitous that movie was a movie like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which I personally think is the best Indiana Jones movie. That is awesome. I actually had somebody write in once and say, yeah, my uncle, I still think when it was this movie, but it was a really crappy movie. He said, too bad it's this really crappy movie. You got Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is awesome. So that is a beautiful memory. Thank you for sharing that with us. And that is one of the powerful things about movies as well. And again, man, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that very much. All right, what's next?
Brian Learn Stuff says, we've all been distracted with Evan Peters and the X-Men, even the F4. I think we are getting a bigger cameo than any of us have thought so far. I honestly think we might just get Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker from a multiverse as the engineer.
Nah,
Huh?
Oh, there was part 2. Sorry
There's
about that.
There's more. Toby is still Peter, but being pulled from the multiverse places him into the role of an Arrow engineer with a mind wipe. So 1, this covers the Luke Skywalker level cameo, and 2, solves for the X-Men 5-year plan issue, leads into Spider-Man 3 home slice.
Okay. It's an excellent, first of all, Brian, well done, like articulating that, putting it together. No way. And I'll tell you why. There's a couple things. Let's start with the biggest and most obvious one. The engineer is somebody Monica knows well and trusts and all that kind of stuff. This would not fit into that. That goes contradictory to what Monica was saying about the engineer. This needs to be somebody that Monica knows, has worked with, and trusts, and knows can get that job done. And that's not Peter Parker. Peter Parker has never been an aerospace engineer. So that is that as well. Secondly, if Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire are going to show up, and that's not a definite thing that they will, but if they do, it'll be in Spider-Man. There's simply no narrative connection between Peter Parker and anything that's going on in WandaVision. Like, you want to say Count Mordo, well, there's a connection, right? If you want to say Blue Marvel, there's a connection. There's narrative connections there. There is none with that. Now, again, preface that by saying what we say with every question, anything is possible. So who knows, man? They might. But I think because that would be contradictory to what Monica already said about the engineer, on top of that fact that there's no narrative connection there between these characters and what that one would be, I think it's unlikely and it'll probably be somebody else. Maybe Magneto, highly unlikely, but wouldn't that shake the world? Maybe somebody else like that. But I just don't think it's going to be him. But I love the way, Brian, you constructed that theory. That's well laid out, man. That is well laid out. And if it does end up being that, I will remember you said it first. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, John, you say that Vision and Wanda saying that Pietro is an imposter makes you think that he could be the X-Men Pietro. But one thing has nothing to do with the other. He could be an imposter, not Marvel Pietro, and be the X-Men Quicksilver.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's possible. And that is what most people think. Most people think exactly what you just said. But again, I think that's all a misdirect. Now, I could be wrong, and everything that they're saying is making me think maybe I am wrong. But I'm gonna stick with it until it's proven that I'm wrong, like I did with the Agatha thing. Like I didn't think Agnes was Agatha. I thought it was too obvious and too on the nose, and I stuck with that until they showed us in the show. Yep, she is Agatha Harkness. And I'm going to do that one with Quicksilver as well. I mean, listen, I've had a lot of my theories confirmed in the show. I've had a number of them debunked. And I'm sure in the next 2 episodes, I will have several others confirmed and several others debunked. Maybe this will be one. But I'm still, for now, sticking with he ain't the Pietro from the X-Men universe. I'm sticking with it. All right, what's next?
The Marvel detective says, hey, John, as the best detective in the MCU, I've been working quietly in the background, solving mysteries and debunking theories. However, WandaVision has recently presented me with a mindfuck of a case, but I have worked closely and diligently. Hold on, let me scroll.
I think it's the anonymous one next.
Wanda stole Vision's remains to bury them in the Westview area, and Agatha manipulates Wanda into creating the hex. The engineer is Adam Brashar.
That's Blue Marvel.
Wanda will end the series as the antagonist and be given the name Scarlet Witch by the end.
Yeah, that Rob was saying that a little bit earlier today, that she'll be named Scarlet Witch at the end. Here's the thing. Right now, I don't think Agatha had anything to do with the creation of the hex. I think Agnes inserted herself into the hex because remember when they were playing with, it was Agatha all along, you see her arriving into the hex. The hex was already there. Now, it could be they didn't show us everything in the opening Agatha song, so maybe there's that. But I am still right now of the mind that Wanda created the hex for her own reasons, and we have somebody like Agnes and maybe somebody else as well trying to manipulate and take advantage of that. Where are you on that right now?
I totally agree. I think because if you think of it, who's been watching her? Because if somebody else is involved, somebody has been watching her very closely to see, one, they're probably wondering like, oh, this girl with the powers, but I don't know what the experiment was that happened in Sokovia. Did somebody open a magical book and cast spells over her? Was that the experiment, or did they inject something?
No, all we know,
the experiment.
All we know is that they had the staff with the stone in it. Yeah. Yeah.
So somebody's been watching, but I think they took advantage of her own situation. And you know what it makes me think of? She might have been this. I mean, this is so specific, but it's like someone that's missing someone and you got a snow globe in your hand. And if you had magical powers, like no one's looking around. I just want to make this little snow globe, the neighborhood I wish I had. And the witch might have been like, oh, you do you? Why don't you make it bigger?
Right.
And then, just leech off of her. I don't know. I don't know.
So many theories. So many theories.
So many.
All right. What's next?
The Marvel Detective says, would love to see you have a conversation with Eric Voss, New Rockstars on YouTube, and Rob Jefferson, Comics Explained on YouTube, and geek over Marvel theories.
Yeah, I'm familiar with both of their work. I mean, I don't know either of these gentlemen like at all, but I'm familiar with both of their work. And yeah, that sounds, I don't do many, if any, collaborations. I'm not into doing that. But yeah, that one would be something. That one would certainly be something. All right, what's next?
James Lockman says, aloha, John and Rob. My two favorite Hail Bretas. Did I say that right?
I'm not sure.
Hail Bretas. Okay. Last night I watched movie trailers, A Love Story.
Thank you, man.
I thought it was great. I didn't rent it. I purchased it. I love supporting people and content that bring me comfort, joy, laughter, and happiness. Let me go to the second part. And only worsened my withdrawals for wanting to be in a movie theater, which I mentioned in yesterday's show. Damn you, Campea. LOL. It was great. The first thing I'd ask friends when they went to the movies was what movie trailers did they show? Yeah.
And well, first of all, James, thanks a lot for giving me an opportunity to plug my movie, which is, of course, Movie Trailers, A Love Story. Spent most of 2020, pretty much all of 2020, making my movie Trailers, A Love Story. It is now available worldwide. Any country you live in, you can get it at vimeo.com/on-demand/movie trailers. Or if you live in the US or the UK, you can simply go to Amazon and actually watch it on Amazon. Just go to Amazon and search for Movie Trailers, A Love Story, and you should be able to find it there. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, listen, often with my friends and everything too, the first question comes up, what trailers played? You know, you get there on time for the trailers because you want to watch the trailers, all that kind of stuff. And of course, so my movie basically is a look at the history of trailers, how they came to be, why we even call them trailers, the significant evolution points of them through the years, why they're important today, some of the controversies surrounding them today, and all that kind of stuff. I got some wonderful people were participating in it with me. And thank you to all of you guys who have already checked it out. And thank you, James, for being the latest to do so. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. All right, what's next?
Fabian Vegas says, hey guys, what are your thoughts on 2013's About Time starring Domhnall Gleeson and Rachel McAdams? Lovely film with a strong message, and the ending always makes me emotional. Thanks.
Listen, the time travel stuff, I'm not down, but I got told by many people I was a little bit late to the party back in the day when that came out. First of all, love Rachel McAdams, good Canadian girl, love her. And then Domhnall Gleeson. I never knew how to pronounce Domhnall's name until I was talking to him one time, and he said, okay, you know the word tonal? Yeah, just think of that with a D. Oh, Domhnall.
Oh,
because I call him Domhnall. I call him Domhnall and stuff like that. It's Domhnall.
Domhnall.
Yes.
Domhnall. Like it. Domhnall.
Of course, and he is the son of one of my favorite character actors in Hollywood, Brendan Gleeson, who has scored Amish in Braveheart, and he pops up in like every other movie that comes out as well. So they're actually father and son. Love them. I really like this movie. I like it a lot. It's one of those few ones that kind of utilize the time travel trope a little bit that I actually really enjoy and that I really liked. And yeah, not one of my favorite movies of all time, but I did enjoy it. Have you ever seen?
I did see that.
You did?
Yeah, I thought it was cute. Yeah, because I remember it was when Rachel McAdams was like everywhere. And I thought it was so like, it's like a rainy day movie. It's one of those movies that you should play when it's raining, like bust out the tea and put that on.
Yeah, it's got heart and charm, and it makes you smile when it needs to. Yeah, I liked it a lot. All right, what's next?
Benny S says, I'm so hyped for Mortal Kombat that I went back and rewatched Mortal Kombat Legacy 1 and 2 on YouTube. These are great reimaginings of the universe, even bringing back Shang Tsung from the original film. It's not as good as Street Fighter Assassins First 1 and 2.
And does he continue?
Let me see here. Starring Christian Howard, Joey Ansah, sorry, and Mike Mo. IMO, but definitely worth a watch. Have you seen either of these? I recommend Street Fighter AF at least. These are proof that video game adaptations not only can work, but can be awesome.
Sorry to say, Benny, I didn't like either of them. I wasn't a big fan of either the Mortal Kombat Legacy stuff, nor of the Street Fighter stuff. But hey, that's just me. They don't work for me. But I am pretty much all in on this new Mortal Kombat movie. I am pretty much all in on it. That trailer, I mean, the trailer wasn't as good as the Godzilla vs. Kong trailer, but I mean, it was a damn good trailer. It got me excited about seeing it. I've always been kind of cautiously optimistic about it just because it's a first-time director and a first-time writer. And hey, the movie might suck, but that trailer did a very good job selling me on it. So no, I didn't like the animated stuff. And I say that as a fan of the original movie, but I'm not a fan of the animated stuff. That's just me. That doesn't mean other people shouldn't be, but that's just the way it was for me. All right, what's next?
J Meister 25 says, fun facts. The exterior house set for Agnes's house is the exact same house that they used for Samantha's house in Bewitched.
I did not know that.
Also, her car has a Connecticut license plate, which is a nod to the Hartford witch trials, which predates the Salem witch trials.
You know what? I am constantly getting a bunch of people writing to me. Like somebody wrote in this one the other day that the license plate on the truck was actually the numbers representing Stan Lee's birthday, which I totally missed. Other people have, you know what? One got pointed out to me today, and I never noticed it. And I need to go to my TV and watch this.
Now I have to rewatch.
Every episode, you know, they start with previously on WandaVision. Yeah. Somebody pointed this out to me today, and I've never noticed it. They say, listen to them. Every episode that starts with previously on WandaVision, which is Wanda's voice, it gets less and less enthusiastic as you go. And so it's like previously on WandaVision, and then previously on WandaVision, then previously on WandaVision, then previously on WandaVision. And I'm like, I never noticed that. I said, is that true? And I went and asked the audience, I'm like, is this true, guys? And like everybody in the live chat is, yep.
Serious?
And I'm like,
how did I miss that?
I never even noticed. I need now to go back to see that because I mean, that's actually pretty cool.
First thing I'm going to do as soon as I get home.
But then there's a number of these like little things like these Samantha, like that was Samantha's house in Bewitched. I had no idea.
See, this is why it pays to watch closely. And although we theorize so much, there are, like I said, Marvel likes to reward the fans. There are a lot of things. And now I got to go back and watch all 7 before. How many hours do I have?
We got like
I gotta
30
watch
hours
them all.
left. I think we got somewhere around 30 hours left right now. So yeah, let's keep rolling. All right, what's next?
Univision says, love the WandaVision talk and all, but let's switch to sports.
All right.
What do you think the Patriots are going to do next year at QB? That's quarterback, right?
Yes. That's quarter. Hey, listen, at least
I'm not a football girl. Bring back Cam, and do you hope for the team next year? IMO, it's time to rebuild. You're not getting Watson and the division's harder than ever.
Yeah, listen, when they lost Brady, I knew I didn't think that was it. I didn't think that's it. Like no playoffs. I never thought that until they got Cam Newton. Once they got Cam Newton, I'm like, this is going to be the first year in forever that they don't make the playoffs because Cam Newton, I'm sorry, is not very good. And that kind of got proved out this year. He's no Deshaun Watson. He's no Tom Brady. He's no Wilson. He's no whoever you want to go down. He's just not very good, and that proved out. Cam Newton will not be the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots next year. It's not going to happen. Belichick tried it. It didn't work. He's going to move on. Now, you're right. They're not going to get Deshaun, and that's fine. And they're not going to get Wentz. He's already signed, so that's fine. And they're not going to get, a lot of the quarterbacks are signed already, but a lot of the quarterbacks are still on the move. So I don't know if they're going to draft, but you're right. I think it is time for them to rebuild. Just accept, we're not going to make the playoffs this year. We're probably not going to playoffs next year. It is time to rebuild. Listen, they have had 2 decades of uncomparable success. At some point, you got to reload. And it's just, and that takes a couple of years to do. And I think they just have to bite the bullet and say, we know we're not going to make the playoffs. We're going to start drafting, start developing. We're going to bring in new players. It may take a little while to get us there. We're going to make moves that set us up that in a couple of years, we'll have some cap space, all that kind of stuff. But it is time to rebuild for them for now. So I do not see the playoffs in their future anytime soon. All right. Good question. Thanks for asking. What's next?
Ryan Launer says, for me, the really interesting part about the Tom Holland as Finn story is that it means Finn wasn't originally intended to be black. You have to wonder if they have the same issue finding a decent role for Holland's Finn.
Here's the thing. What it tells me is that, remember we were talking a little bit earlier about, is a core essential part. The key uniqueness of this character, what makes this character who they are, is it their eye color? Is it their skin color? Is it that their voice is high or their voice is low? Is it that they're 6'2" or 5'10"? And if those things aren't part of the equation, then it opens up for you to just go and find a really talented person to put in there. And for a character like Finn, when you watch the Star Wars movies, you realize John Boyega's height, ethnicity, voice sound, eye color, hairstyle, none of that was important to who and what Finn was. And so they had flexibility with that character to just go out and thought, and remember, John Boyega was very, very hot at the time. You know, you just go out and get an actor that you think will be able to fill that role well and infuse their own personality into it. And so they were able to do that. And so I think you were probably going to see the same thing. Finn would have played the exact same role. They would have had the same struggles figuring out what they're doing with Finn as the struggles they trying to figure out what they were doing with Daisy Ridley's character, Rey. Because at the end of the day, they had no flipping idea what to do with Rey. That's why they were completely changing directions. They had no long-term plan for any of them. And they would have had the same thing even if it was Tom Holland. So that's kind of my take on that. All right, what's next?
Uzi Vision says, do you think Feige has some involvement, obviously not a lot, in Sony's Spider-Verse, i.e. Venom and Morbius? Don't think Feige will let characters he has no control over inside MCU. If not, what is Sony doing? Like Venom, but making a Spider-Verse without Spider-Man?
You can totally make a Spider-Verse without Spider-Man. I remember everybody said, Venom's never gonna work. No one's gonna see Venom. Venom's gonna flop. And I just kept on hearing this every single day. And I said, yes, it can. It'll work. And it's gonna do well. I never thought it would make $800 million. But lo and behold, it made I knew it would be successful. It made $800 million and was damn fun. That was a damn fun movie. I had a really good time with that film. And I'm very much looking forward to Morbius. So yeah, they very much can do a form of a Spider-Verse without Spider-Man. You can't do Venom without Spider-Man. Guess what? They did Venom without Spider-Man. And it made a lot of money. And a lot of people liked it. Not everybody did. Totally fine. But it was a crowd pleaser of a movie. It depends on what Sony and Marvel's plans are moving forward. If they do plan to be a little bit more connected, then I 1000% believe Sony would bring in Kevin Feige to consult and look at things overall, not give him final decision making or anything like that, but I think they would absolutely take advantage of that. Bring him in, fill him in on what they're planning to do, get his input on the plans and all that kind of stuff. I think he's probably very much connected. But again, that all depends on how interconnected do they plan on doing this. Right now, we as the public don't know the answer to that. We make assumptions based on the fact that Michael Keaton popped up in the Morbius trailer and that we see a Spider-Man mural on a wall, but really we don't know the answer to that question yet. So that has a lot to do with it. But all other things being equal, if they do have future plans to be a little bit more interconnected, I completely believe that they're at the very minimum having Kevin Feige consult and making sure Kevin Feige is in on the loop as to what their plans are. And then how long does that plan go? Don't know. We'll find out as we move forward. All right, what's next?
Paul Pascal says, hey, John, so we all know Baby Yoda eventually is going to show up again in The Mandalorian.
Yep.
Do you think when they show him again, either at the end of season 3 or season 4, will he ever talk or show a little bit of growth? Thank you, and this is the way.
Nope. Oh. Nope. And they shouldn't. It wouldn't make any sense. Remember, this Baby Yoda, this Grogu, is 50 years old. It's 50 years old. So how much more development do you expect to see in just 1/10 of that? Less than 1/10 of that. Listen, they know what they've got. They have got a gold mine. Do you know how many Baby Yoda things I have in this house? How many times I've gone to my door because there's a delivery there that Ann ordered of some form of a Baby Yoda?
So cute.
A lot, right? They know that. And so what they don't want to have is a not so cute Baby Yoda. No, I'm not
like
going to
listen to you. Remember when they made Groot
yeah,
a
becomes a little, yeah, they're not going to have Baby Yoda become pissy.
He's not going to be like, what? Yeah, so?
Yeah. His hair's going to be dyed black. He's going to be emo. He's going to have an earring now. Don't come in my room.
He's going to be doing Fortnite dances.
Yeah. So no.
Oh, that would be so cute.
Now, if they fast forwarded in Mandalorian 10 years, okay, maybe you might start hearing his first words and things like that. But right, like 3 or 4 years is nothing to the age of this little guy. So I'm going to guess no talking. I'm guessing.
What would his first word be?
Man. Oh, gosh. I don't know. You know what? They'd probably pull something really sappy. It's like, this is the way, or something like that. His first words would be, this is the way. Like, he'll do something to save Mando or save somebody. It's like, good job, kid. This is the way. And then everybody's like, ah, he said this. He said the thing. He said the thing. And everybody will lose their minds. And then they'll make a lot of money. Because that's what they do. They're printing money with this damn little thing. All right, what's next?
Matt Weber says, Marvel claim their films and shows will tie in together. But will they really risk alienating moviegoers by making a given Disney Plus show near mandatory to follow a film's story or premise? Should we be tempering our expectations for big reveals on that basis?
Listen, we've been talking about this, Matt, and this is absolutely true. Look, they're not going to make it so watching something on Disney Plus becomes mandatory in order to watch something later. Kevin Feige has made 11 plus years, 20 plus films, and they not one. I told this story earlier today. I had a friend of mine has never watched an MCU movie. And when Endgame came out on video, they were like, and they were over having dinner with us. Hey, let's watch Endgame. I've never seen it. I'm like, cool. And she was able to watch Endgame and perfectly fine. Like, yeah, there were some things that she missed some of the nuances and she didn't understand some of the relevance of some of the things. But as far as following the story, she was able to follow the story fine. And that's the genius of Kevin Feige. If you set up your universe or your product line, let's say you've got a product, okay, any kind of a product. Let's say you make Chewbacca shirts, okay? Because that's a very nice, I just realized you got that really cool Chewbacca shirt on.
My favorite.
Representing there. Okay, so you make Chewbacca shirts. And then you come out with a version 2. But in order to wear version 2, you have to have owned version 1. Okay, well now you've limited your prospective customers for version 2 to just those people who bought version 1. Now you make version 3. But in order to buy version 3, you have to have first 1 and 2. Again, the only potential customers you have now is a finite number of those who bought 1 and 2. What Kevin Feige has done is he has understood this. And therefore, every MCU thing he puts out, everybody is a potential customer. It's not limited to those who've watched all the MCU so far. So since the movies haven't done that, there's no reason to expect that they're going to do that with the television series again. Everything they do will be done in such a way that a new audience member is going to be able to fill in the gaps and figure out what's going on in the first 10 to 15 minutes. You know, they will have certain conversations. They will plant little visual cues that if you're a newcomer to this and you see that, okay, I get it. Yeah, I get it. So something happened where a bunch of people were wiped away.
You might miss a few jokes.
Yeah, and some of the nuance.
Like the magic won't make sense to you. When
yes, if you haven't seen it,
that'll be like, oh, that was a cool way to pull out his card.
Yeah, you'll miss that joke.
Get that, yeah.
But look at what they did in Endgame, right? Let's say you never saw, like my friend hadn't seen Infinity War yet. So what do? They have a scene near the beginning of the movie of a big therapy session.
That was,
where they basically lay it out. That half the people in the world had been taken away.
And Clint's family, you got a taste of what that was like. So
everything you needed to know to follow the basics of the story was all there. And so new people, everything Kevin Feige makes is an open door to welcome in new audiences and to whet their appetites to say, now they go back and watch the old stuff, whatever. So I wouldn't worry about that, Matt. I think we're safe. I think we're going to be safe moving forward because that's important to Kevin Feige. All right, what's next?
No Country for Old Sam says, just did a watch through of the filmographies of 3 incredible David directors. I'm talking Lynch, Cronenberg, and Fincher. My favorites each are Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet's awesome.
Videodrome, and The Game. Wondering what you think of those guys and your faves each.
Well, I don't do lists and I don't go in running in this, but David Fincher is my favorite of those. Even though there's some Canadian connections, David Fincher is my favorite of those. I just love the diversity he brings. He can do something populist, fan favorite. He can do something very, very artsy on the go. He's just been doing some television stuff recently, right? With Netflix and everything. He just did his own, like he just did that recent movie on Netflix as well with Gary Oldman, all that kind of stuff. So out of those three, he is my favorite. I mean, the others have a lot of really good stuff too, but yeah, Fincher is pretty much my favorite. All right, what's next?
All right, this is coming from Kung Fu Hot Dog. Hey, John, you recently said that Steve Rogers is Captain America. No one else can assume that title, but in the Civil War graphic novel, when Steve is apprehended by law enforcement, he tells the Avengers they're arresting Steve, not Cap. Sam Wilson will fill Cap's shoes because we've seen him being loyal to Steve, while we've only seen Bucky as a Winter Soldier. Also, look at 007. It's a title, but several actors have become that agent. Stay cool, my brother.
Yeah, see, but that's the thing. 007 is an employee number. 007 is an employee number. And I get it. In the comics, yeah, well, in the comics, there's Squirrel Girl, right? So let's not fall back on the in the comics argument. I'm just saying that in the MCU, like Captain America isn't a title. They've turned it into a title, but Captain America was Steve Rogers. Just like in hockey, Wayne Gretzky is the great one. That's the great one. Wayne Gretzky. They didn't have another hockey player come along. It's like, oh, Wayne Gretzky retired, so now you get to be the great one. No. Wayne Gretzky is the great one, is Wayne Gretzky. Is the great one, is Wayne Gretzky, is the great one. Just like in the Batman comics, a lot of different people from Jean Paul to Dick to others have worn the mantle of the Bat and been Batman. But really, the Batman is Bruce Wayne, is Batman, is Bruce Wayne. That's how I see it. That's the way, and that's the way it kind of was. Captain America wasn't a rank in the military that they just create and say, congratulations, Steve Rogers, or Steve Rogers, we promote you to the rank of Captain America. No, that's his name. That was given to him. That is his name. Sam Wilson, who I love Falcon, but he's not Captain America. He doesn't have his abilities. He doesn't have his experience. He doesn't have his powers. He doesn't have any of that. It would literally just be turning Captain America into some title. So when you say Captain America, I'm sorry, you're saying Steve Rogers. Now, again, I am not I'm not Kevin Feige. I'm not running Marvel. I'm just telling you the way I, as an individual fan, look at it. So yeah, 007 is an employee number. Captain America is a man. Captain America is Steve Rogers. But that's the way it is to me, though. And it's totally cool. There are a lot of different ways, and they're probably going to do different things, but that's just the way it is to me. All right, what's next?
Joseph L. says, been a fan since the AMC FYC days.
Thank you, man.
It seems like Hollywood wants to turn any recognizable IP into a franchise. Example, Emoji Movie, at least no Pez yet. And I've been waiting for the next ridiculous idea. An idea occurred to me that is equally ridiculous. I'm amazed they haven't done it yet. A breakfast cereal character shared universe.
There you go.
You have Tony the Tiger, the Trix Rabbit, the Lucky the Leprechaun, etc. I even have the title Champions of Breakfast. It's great. Or is it cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs?
Listen, Joseph, we live in a world where there is a Monopoly movie coming. There is a Rubik's Cube movie coming. I'm not talking about a documentary. I'm talking about the movie, Rubik's Cube. Now I'm talking, there is a lot of these stupid things. Look, if you can make a movie about plastic square building blocks, Legos, into something that make money and are actually good, they're going to do it with anything. You're right. Listen, Hollywood is looking for franchises because we, as the audience, and that's the thing. You talk about that. It's like, wow, why is Hollywood just making franchises? You know why? Because we're telling them to. I don't tell them to. Oh, yes, you do. We communicate to the Hollywood studios through our wallets. And what do they see? When we make these original films, nobody comes to watch them. We make franchises based on IP that people recognize. People come out and watch it. Not all the time, but a higher percentage. And so we keep telling the studios to make these things. So they're going to keep trying them. Now, every once in a while, you're going to come across something like Lego Movie that, hey, they knock it out of the park. And then sometimes they won't. But you're right, man. It is crazy. And a shared cereal mascot thing, that ain't the craziest idea I've heard today. I wouldn't doubt it at all if some studio right now isn't getting on the phone with, I don't know, what are the companies be like, Kellogg's, and getting on the phone with all them companies and see if they secure the rights. It's probably going to happen.
Did you see Pete Davidson as Count Chocula on SNL?
I did not see that, no.
Freaking hilarious. It was freaking hilarious. And you know what? If anyone ever did a cereal movie, it should be Adam Sandler. That's just my personal feeling.
Hey, listen, why not do a mixture? Mix it up. Get a Captain Crunch Pirates of the Caribbean. There you go. Captain Crunch. Captain Oswald Crunch. And give him like some backstory. There you go. You're ready to go. You're ready to go.
God.
All right. What's next?
Y'all ain't ready. John Farag says, hey, John and Rob, the news that my beloved NYC theaters are opening came at a perfect time. I get my first vaccine dose today.
Nice.
This helps normalize life for me and my daughter. I have a heart condition and thought I'd never be in a theater again. Thanks.
Hey, listen, no, it is great news. But listen, one of the things we cannot, and listen, today is day 41.
Yeah, that's right.
41 days in a row that the COVID cases have gone
good.
down in California, which is great.
Hopeful.
We're hearing about the New York theaters are going to reopen. We're hearing that LA theaters is probably coming pretty soon. These are all great. What we cannot do, though, is think, okay, that means everything's fine now. No. We've gotten to this point because our society is becoming more vigilant and we've been doing better things and being smarter about it. Keep getting tested, guys. Keep wearing your damn masks. Don't go into overly crowded situations. Get vaccinated when you're given the opportunity to get a vaccination. If we keep doing these things, we'll keep heading in the right direction. And hopefully, John, we will all be back in the movie theaters sooner rather than later. All right, what's next?
This comes from Andrew G. Hi, John and Rob. Do you think the new recut of Justice League will have the same post-credit scene or not?
No, apparently there's going to be a new cameo sort of post-credit thing that they're doing. Of course, that won't lead anywhere because they've already said this is a dead end and they're not doing anything else. And Zack Snyder said, I'm not doing any more DC movies. He's got what looks like a lot of fun to me, that Army of the Dead thing he's got coming on Netflix, that zombie thing. I think that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be something a little bit different. At least that's what we know for now. But you know, and by the way, Andrew tipped in $20. So thank you so much for that, Andrew. So listen, I said this today and I shouldn't say anything, and I really shouldn't say anything, but I did mention on my show earlier today. I have talked to somebody who saw a near completed version of what's about to come out on HBO for the Zack Snyder Justice League. And they liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Now, that's one person's opinion, which could be totally different from the rest of our opinions. Might be totally different. I might see it and think it's crap, whatever. But I did talk to somebody who did see it and is aware of it and said it's actually really good. So let's see where this goes. All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, Andrew. Appreciate that, man. All right. What's next?
Nicholas Priera says, yes, I love this new Superman show. That's how you humanize him, by making him a real caring man who tries to make the best decisions possible for his family and the world. I learned more about this Clark in 60 Minutes than about Cavill's 1 and 2 movies.
I disagree with that. I don't think that's true at all. But it puts Superman into a scenario. They did something unique. This is the thing I always talk about Joker, right? We've had 4 big screen Jokers. And every time they've made them definitively Joker, but also definitively unique at the same time. What they did with this Superman was something I've never really seen them do with Superman before. He's got a family. He's got kids. Now, of course, Superman has had children in the comics, but I mean, this is different. On the screen, he's got kids. And he's having the struggles where his superpowers do not help him in being a parent. Those don't help. Trying to relate with your teenage kid, your super strength ain't going to help you relate. And he's struggling with that. And like, that's one of the things, I don't know if you've ever seen the Superman movie, Superman Returns, we're with Brandon Routh playing Superman.
Was that in the like 70s?
No. This was like 2000 and something. It's with Brandon Routh playing him. At any rate.
The one with Kate Bosworth.
Yes.
Yeah.
As Lois Lane.
Yeah.
One of the worst miscast Lois Lanes ever.
Yeah.
And I like Kate Bosworth a lot, but that was not the right role for her. But, you know, that's one of the things I liked about that was you have Superman in Superman Returns looked at the God-Man.
Mm-hmm.
What does he struggle with? Well, I'll tell you what he struggles with. He doesn't understand. He doesn't know his place in the world. He has struggled so much with understanding his place in the world. He's sitting, there's this beautiful scene in it where he's basically floating in space. The God-Man, the Superman, he's floating in space and he can hear everyone in the world. All the while, he doesn't know how to connect with Lois. Once he finds out he has a child, he has no idea how to do that. But just understanding to figure out his place in the world. And they humanize him because that's something all of us struggle with. Who am I and what is my place in this world? And they did that. And that's something they've done with this Superman show. And I think that's the big thing they have to build on. I think that is the big thing they have to build on.
I thought that was interesting how he has kids.
Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, what's next?
Casey McNatt says, hey, John, just wanted to mention this. Have you noticed the colors they are using in Spider-Man and all of those troll titles? Purple, green, and silver, the colors of the Green Goblin and his silver glider.
Hey, listen, I pointed that out on the John Campea Show today, and I don't know if they were all supposed to represent a different character. Like maybe the green might have been Mysterio too, by the way. So, but like the green for Green Goblin, the silver for something else. By the way, that was kind of I'm not quite sure what color that was. It was kind of a purplish pink or pink purple, might have been a Spider-Gwen kind of wink of the, I mean, I don't know, but yes, that definitely stood out to me that in each one of the fake titles, the Spider-Man lettering had a different color. And so I did think there might have been a little bit to that. I'm not sold into it, but it's possible. It's possible. Okay, what's next?
JC is my girlfriend's hall pass says.
Excellent name.
Since the announcement of Spider-Man 3 and the possibility of worlds crossing over, I thought an appropriate name for it would be Spider-Man 3 No Place Like Home, referencing Wizard of Oz, a classic movie about being whisked off to another world. Just imagine Peter saying, hey guys, ever seen the old movie where a girl gets sucked up by a tornado? Also, might be appropriate with all the witch activity lately.
Actually, that's a great thought. Of course, now we know that the title is, of course, No Way Home. But listen, the No Place Like Home, that is one that was a popular theory for a long time. No Place Like Home. It fits. Now, I heard a number of really good home theories, but listen, JC, I like that a lot because you're right. You're tying it into a specific homage movie. That might have been a little bit too specific, but I thought, I mean, if you had asked me for an over and under No Place Like Home, it would have been one of the higher ranked ones. I probably would have given it like a 25% chance. Actually, if they had just announced today that the name of the movie was No Place Like Home, I probably would have said, yeah, that's pretty good. No Way Home is also a pretty good one. And I like it. Did you happen to have a theory for a title that you really wanted to hear?
I had no freaking clue, especially because of all the things that Tom Holland's been saying and all the theories and where we could go. I literally was just sitting back and enjoying the trolling because I had no. It was fun. When they announced the final one, because it came out in a skit.
Yeah.
I thought they were still trolling, and so it wasn't until other people were like, "Okay, we've got it. We've got a name," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. I like the little skit they did with it, too.
I thought that was really cute.
All right, what's next?
Andrew G says, the new title of Spider-Man 3 is Stay at Home.
That totally would be so appropriate for today, man. That would have been so appropriate for today, Andrew. Okay, what's next?
Sam Fisher says, so can we start calling MCU Spider-Man movies the Home Trilogy? I'm so glad No Way Home is the title. Definitely better than the other three they released as a gag.
Oh, well, listen, first of all, the one Tom Holland put out, which was Phone Home, right? That could, depending on what the movie was about, like if he had to try to figure out a way to get a message out or something like that, Phone Home would actually be a really good title, but we don't know what the movie's about yet, so there's that. But as soon as they came out with Home Wrecker, it's like, okay, well, they're not going to do that. Home Slice, okay, they're not. So clearly this is all a gag. You're right. The one it actually ended up being is pretty good. And it starts to give us an idea about maybe what direction they're going to go with the movie. So I'm with you, Sam. I think that one works and probably works very well. Okay, what's next?
Rob Kwasowski says, Wanda said no to rewind time. She is going to say more to fast forward time. And in the last episode, Magneto will appear with Quicksilver, and that will cause her to say mutants. And that will be a double negative that will create mutants in the MCU.
Okay, well, there's a couple of problems wrong. There's a couple of things wrong with that, Rob. Okay, so first of all, the whole more and that, first of all, Magneto showing up, which, hey, that would be a world stopper. If Magneto shows up, that is a world stopper, and I will geek out. It's also assuming that Quicksilver is actually Quicksilver, which I don't really think. But here's the other thing. Wanda doesn't accidentally do something. Oopsie, I accidentally said more, and then I said mutants. No, she purposes things, right? It's not like there's some cosmic force that's, oh, Wanda said more mutants. Okay, we'll do more. Wanda's the one who does it. So I don't think that's going to be the case. But again, can we focus on this just for a second? Can you imagine the reaction? Now, again, I don't think X-Men are coming into it. I don't think they're going to do that. But if either Charles Xavier or Magneto show up in this show, forget about it. Like it's going to be, people are going to lose their minds.
They're going to lose it. I mean,
let me ask you,
Professor X can help.
From 0% to 100%, what do you think the chances are that either Magneto or Charles Xavier show up at this point?
A good solid 35%.
Really? That high?
Yes.
That is a solid number.
Yes.
All right.
Now I don't know if it'll be those actors.
Right. That would be
might
different.
be introducing, hey, this is the new crew.
Right.
But it's
all right.
It's just so much.
So much. 2 more episodes. All right, what's next?
Charlie Upton says, WandaVision is looking like one tough act to follow. Can we expect the same cult following that WandaVision has been receiving with the upcoming MCU shows?
Well, I mean, I don't know. First of all, it doesn't have to have that big of a following. Like, it doesn't have to be this passionate to be super successful. But what have we had so far? From Disney Plus, as far as their premium original series. Mandalorian Season 1, huge following. Mandalorian Season 2, grows the following. WandaVision Season 1, and probably the only season, massive following. I mean, right now, their clip, their pace, it wasn't like WandaVision set the bar either. I mean, it was set even before with Mandalorian. So I don't know. I mean, every episode is being made by different people, still with Kevin Feige overseeing all of them. With Kevin Feige overseeing all of them, that's going to give some consistency. All I know, look, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Loki, they may suck. But right now, there's no reason to believe they won't be great because that's just what Kevin Feige's putting out right now. So we'll see, Charlie. We'll see. All right, what's next?
Sam Fisher says, really enjoyed the premiere and seeing the Kents as parents. Is it just me, or does Jen Lane knowing Clark's is Soups seem like a bad idea? He can be ordered to give up the ID under threat of court-martial or under oath in a court or congressional hearing. Give me a sec to get to your second one, buddy. Also, wish the kids were named Connor and Jonathan after the Superboys in the comics, with Connor being the cool one and Jonathan being the one with social anxiety. Anyways, as long as everyone's having a good time, there's no need to be a poopy pants.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think anybody, I mean, if Lois, can be captured and, under threat of her children's lives, I mean, you can always have that scenario. But this is its own show. Forget what's in the comic books. Forget all that kind of stuff. Obviously to them, there was a big advantage to her dad knowing Clark's identity. And for all we know, they may say that her dad figured it out himself, right? They may say, because the show never really told us how her dad knew about it. Like, for all we know, her dad knew before she did. He may have known that Clark Kent is Superman before Lois Lane ever did. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but that is part of it. And so I think it's an interesting change of pace from what we've been used to seeing in the Superman on screen. And I think it'd be interesting. It's good that he's got that confidence, that connection. It's probably going to be for a very good narrative purpose. We'll see how it is moving forward. All right, what's next?
K Major says, John, I'm very disappointed in you. Why haven't you been discussing the coming of the live action Powerpuff Girls series on the CW? Are you not excited to see Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup fighting crime in the city of Townsville? Shame on you, sir.
Well, see, here's the thing, K Major. There are certain things in life you look forward to and you're interested in, and there's certain things you not. For example, from what I understand, once men get a certain age, actually, it's getting younger and younger that they're recommending men do this. Men need to go to the doctor and have the doctor shove their fist up your butt for various, health reasons. It's an exam, right? I'm not looking forward to that, and therefore I don't talk about it. I'm probably looking forward to that more than I am for this Powerpuff Girls show. So if I ain't going to talk about the butt doctor visit, I'm probably not going to talk about the Powerpuff Girls, even though it's a live action thing and a very unique, and maybe the show may be great. The show may be great. I may have a fun time at the butt doctor. I don't think I will, but I'm just saying, I'm not talking about it because I'm not interested in it. I'm not really looking forward to it. That's all I'm saying. All right. What's next? Just saying.
Oh, that's hilarious. Spider-Man has a title, says, I'm writing this right before show starts, but they just announced it's No Way Home. I like the title, but wish it was Spider-Man, Work From Home. Get it?
I like that.
LOL. Also, it's Nightmare. I like it for a fact. Sorry.
I know.
I know it for a fact, and Superman and Lois was actually all right. It's not Man of Steel, but good enough.
No, you don't know it for a fact. You don't know it for a fact. You may have a really strong opinion about it, and you may end up being right.
Unless you're the actor that's secretly playing Nightmare.
Yes, if you're that person, then by all means, you know for a fact, and I totally take back what I just said. And yeah, listen again to the Superman and Lois thing. I'll just say what I said before. It's far exceeded my expectations. It far exceeded I still don't think it's great, not yet, but it did really exceed my expectations. So credit where credit is due. And yeah, that came out just as the show was starting today. So I like it. But yeah, Work From Home was another big one that people were recommending given today's current circumstances. But yeah, No Way Home, that'll probably play into it a little bit better. All right, what's next?
Nerdy Teacher says, hi, John, quick question. Who would be the best villain of movie history, comic book or otherwise, and why?
It's Darth Vader. Darth Vader is the greatest. Now, my favorite villain in comic books and my favorite comic book character, villain or hero, is Magneto. Eric is my all-time favorite comic book character. I just think there's so much depth and nuance to that character and his background, his history. He's misunderstood. I just think he's the greatest comic book character ever made. But Darth Vader, I think, is the greatest villain. Like he captured the imagination of generations, plural, with his presence, his voice. I mean, even without doing much, he became just that menacing factor in everything. Even today, when you watch, I don't know if you play a lot of video games or not. Okay, so there's this game that came out last year that's pretty popular called Jedi Fallen Order, right?
Okay.
And sorry, everybody, I'm about to give away a little spoiler in the story of the video game Jedi Fallen Order. But near the end of the game, here we are 40 years after the original Star Wars. Near the end of the game, the good guy and this evil girl are having their big face off, and the evil girl's on the dark side, so she works for somebody else. And you don't see him during the entire game. But just as the evil girl is about to give up, you hear in the background, you hear the iconic Darth Vader breath. And that's all it takes. Mm-hmm. You go onto YouTube and you look up reaction videos, Darth Vader reveal, Fallen Order.
I'm going to check that out.
That's all it takes. 40 years later, after this character is introduced, is to hear his damn breath. And at that point, people freak out. Vader's here. I can't remember who does the song. You know that song that's bum ba bum bum. The champ is here. Bum ba bum. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Vader's here. Bum ba bum. Vader's here. That's it. Vader's there, and that's it. You go back to Rogue One, right? The thing everybody talks about, like one of the biggest movie moments of the past 10 years, Vader showing up in Rogue One. and killing a lot of people who were terrified. I mean, that's all it is. 40 years later, and his breath in the background is enough to send YouTube into hysterics. There's never been a villain like that. And
True.
I don't know if there ever will be again, but that's why
true.
I think it's if somebody were to stop you on the street and say, "Hey, you're Kimberly from the John Campea Show. Who do you think is the greatest villain of all time?" What would be the couple of names that would jump to your mind?
I immediately think of the devil's advocate.
With Al Pacino?
Al Pacino. I immediately think of him. Yeah. But,
I like that one.
But if you're talking comics, that's a whole nother conversation. But if you're talking, film overall, I mean, he's the devil.
He's the devil.
Not only that, but the way he played it and all the things he did, what he did to his poor wife and all that, it was just like crazy.
It's a good one. All right, what's next?
Nerdy Teacher says, also, have you had a chance to take a look at the Jobber Superman pilot episode? Like you, I am not a fan of how he was portrayed in Supergirl, but that first episode of Superman and Lois was pretty solid. Thoughts?
I'll go right with what you're saying, Nerd Teacher. Pretty solid. Again, much better than I was expected. Not great. It got a little too CW-ish for me instead of more HBO. But again, I will watch the next couple of episodes with great interest to see really what the DNA of the show is going to be. But hey, listen, credit where it's due. It's off to a good start. It really is. All right, what's next?
Ryan Launer says, I'm amazed that in discussions of the greatest directors ever, you hardly ever hear people talk about William Wyler.
Ben-Hur, yeah.
Ben-Hur, Roman Holiday, Miss Miniver, The Best Years of Our Lives, The Little Foxes, The Heiress. What more do you need?
When you go back to that era, there are a number of big iconic movies that nobody knows the directors for, but when you start looking at the directors list, their names, right? Like people never mention Cecil B. DeMille. Like the Cleopatra, and like they never mentioned Cecil. It is a sign of the time. It's a sign of the time. Like a lot of these movies you're mentioning are movies that a lot of the movie audience has just never seen, so they're never going to come up in the conversations. Thankfully, like Hitchcock, a lot of people will watch North by Northwest and will watch Psycho and will watch The Birds, right, today. But there's others that don't. But there are a number of directors that do deserve to get more mention than they do. So that's absolutely true, Ryan. All right, what's next?
Nick Sonic says, hey, John and Rob. If Toby and Andrew are in Spider-Man 3, do you think they will reveal it before the release? I feel like they would because it would be insane for marketing. But I also feel like the rumors are already generating enough buzz for it right now. Here's
the thing. That is a great question. This is actually a fabulous question, Nick. If Toby and Andrew are in it, and that's still an if. I believe they will be, but let's be clear. It is not confirmed. It's an if. If they are, how does Marvel handle it? Do they try to make it a big reveal, like a big surprise, like, oh my God? Or, because that would be a huge moment in the theater, huge. Or, do you take advantage of it from a marketing perspective and you show it in the trailers and get people going, we gotta go see this now, right? There are pluses to both. Yeah. My gut, and I'll tell you why. My gut says they're going to put it in the trailers.
You think so?
I do. And here's why. It's not because they think the benefit they'll get from the marketing outweighs the benefit they'll get from the big in-theater explosion like they got with J. Jonah Jameson at the end of Far From Home. But I think they simply know this. If they're in it, they're not going to be able to keep it a secret until it happens. It's speculation now.
Why? Because you'll see them on set, or the IMDb credit will be there.
No, just the longer you get closer to it, the more people that have to know. The more people who are involved with the project, who are involved with the editing, the post-production, all that kind of stuff. You're getting now a growing number of people who will know. And the more people that know, and remember, we all walk around with global audio video communication devices in our pocket. Yeah. The more people that know, exponentially grows the possibility. And yeah, they kept J. Jonah. Yeah, but that's a minor thing. Andrew and Toby. I just think at the end of the day, they're going to think, we're not going to be able to keep this under wraps. Really? Therefore, let's take advantage of this. Let's get ahead of it. And let's get ahead of it and utilize it for the marketing.
Don't people sign NDAs? Like,
of course they do. Of course they do.
I don't like being spoiled. I agree. Like some things it might be, I don't like being spoiled. I honestly, when the buzz started, I was not happy because the buzz started, and then of course there were those outlets that were like, for sure this is happening. And I was like, you know what? Okay, but I love that moment in a movie where you're watching it and you're into the scene and all of a sudden things slow down and the tone of the music changes and it pans up and you're like, no way. I love that moment, and I hate hearing about stuff like if they're gonna do it, I'd be kind of pissed because I don't want to know. Let me see that in the theater. Let me have that moment where I throw the popcorn at the scene and go, no freaking way.
Yeah, but let's be honest,
guys.
You're already expecting it now.
Well, because they were talking about it. I would not have expected it if they were talking about it. But with the multiverse, I might have thought like, I wonder. But it would have stopped at I wonder. It wouldn't have been like, he's going to be on set every day.
But now, understanding that that's the context.
Yeah.
What does Disney do with that? It's like everybody's already expecting it. So we're not going to get a lot of benefit by trying to pretend like it's a secret. Everybody knows. And again, the longer they go, the more that people are going to find out. And there is a lot of benefit to be had by plopping them in the trailers. You put them in the trailers, it's going to make people go nuts. That trailer, that Spider-Man trailer comes out, say it's Spider-Man trailer number 3. Not the first trailer.
Yeah.
Maybe not even the second trailer, but like the third trailer. There's Peter in his apartment talking to Jacob, right? Talking to Ned, Jacob Bartolone. And they're just talking. All of a sudden, there's a knock on his door. Hold a second. He opens the door, and there's Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield standing there just going,
crazy.
We need to talk. That will become maybe the second or third highest downloaded trailer in the history of movies.
For sure.
And so there's benefit to be had there. So I don't know. Nick, it's the billion-dollar question. It all depends on how much does Disney actually think they're going to be able to keep this under wraps, and how much do they already think it's been ruined? Again, they may not even be in it.
Yeah, because didn't Tom Holland say no?
Yeah, he could totally be lying. He could totally be lying.
He could totally be lying.
But
like,
I expect they'll be in it. But they could not be.
You know what I think it's going to what it's going to be? You know how Jamie Foxx is going to be there and Alfred Molina? Remember in Endgame when they went back to 2004 or something?
Yeah, something like that.
And they just saw glimpses like of themselves, and it was like a scene, pew, pew, pew. I think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be, but I don't know. I hate the spoiler.
What's next?
Bert and Ernie.
I like that. I see what you did there.
Not going to say I was 100% sure it was Agatha Harkness, like others, but following the breadcrumbs was fun, and I confirmed my suspicion during the episode. Word naughty on her butt during open. Mole, which is a way devil uses to control witches. Burton, let me find your second one here, bud. It's kind of far up. Hold on one sec. Okay. Lastly, moths are used by devil to trap souls. So I'm guessing it's Mephisto. Psych, it's Nightmare. I just did a Marvel switch. Also, I finally put my finger on what show we are all watching. Wizard of Oz. Agatha Bike, same as Miss Gulich, Wicked Witch. Again, let me search your other part, buddy. Playing dual characters, black and white in color scenes. Next door neighbor that hates dog and turns into a witch. If a house falls on Agatha, I will die laughing. Going back to Agatha, other crumbs. June 2nd is her anniversary. Also, Salem witch trials.
Yeah.
There's one last part here. Let me find you. Think basement is outside of Hex. Why? I think Nightmare is drains power as his source power, and why the book is glowing red because he needs Wanda power to rise and will use kids to bring Mephisto. Lastly, her nightmare is what caused it all to happen anyway.
I mean, listen, first of all, there's a lot there to unpack. So we're not going to try to unpack all of it right now, but, the nightmare scenario, I never thought that either Nightmare or Mephisto were going to be a part of this. The Yo Magic commercial really made me swing the other way on that a bit. Like if I was really leaning very heavily towards that it's not going to be them, then I'm now like almost ready to say one of them are going to be it. And I did think if it is Mephisto or Nightmare, I would nudge a little bit more towards Nightmare. A lot more seems to be that. Again, the power of the book. Clear. Now, the Agnes thing, I just thought they made it too obvious, but as somebody else pointed out on the show, John, you were assuming that everybody knew what you know about the Marvel Comics. It's like, oh, of course, most people never even heard of Agnes, so the brooch, the name, the witch costume would not have been enough for a lot of people to tip their hands that this is a character named Agatha Harkness, somebody they had probably never even heard of before. So there's a couple down the aisle there. Look, there's still, though, Burton, with so many questions left. Even though they seem to be answering a bunch, there are still so many questions left. And we're going to find out if you're right about this, man. We're going to find out. And I think we're going to get a lot of answers. Here's my guess right now. We're going to get almost all the answers in episode 8.
You think so?
And then it's going to set up episode 9 for all big time resolution.
That's true.
But I think the questions will be answered in 2 nights. Less than 48 hours.
What are our main questions?
Well, I mean, it'll be different from person to person. For me, the big question is not how did the hex was made in the first place.
It's not. Oh,
that's not my main question. My main question isn't even how much of this is Wanda actually in control of. For a lot of people, that'll be their main question. For me, the main question, if only one could be answered, is Quicksilver. That's to me, that to me is the one that I am most want to see verified, one way or the other. Is it the X-Men Quicksilver? I don't think it is. Or is it not? Is it truly an imposter? Is that Agatha's son? Is that Mephisto in disguise? I mean, I don't know. That's the one I want. What for you is the number one question still yet to be answered?
The number one question is, how did this all start?
That the start and the origins of it, right?
Was she sleeping and someone read her mind? Was she dreaming? Was she playing with a little snow globe hex? How did it all start? Is Sword, did they start this and it got out of control? And how did this all start?
Yep, that's going to be a lot of the ones out there. So a lot of great theories in there, Burton. Let's see where they go with this. All right, what's next?
Mason Hockey says, imagine if Henry Cavill is in Flash 2, just to get jobbed by the new Supergirl. IMFAO, would that make the Flash movie your first leave the theater in a long time?
Well, I mean, oh my God, if they had Henry Cavill show up in Flash just to get beat up by Supergirl, because of course Supergirl is going to be in the Flash, oh my God, the level of pissed offness knows no ends at that point. But I really believe if Henry Cavill were to show up, J.J. Abrams is going to be taking over the Superman character. J.J. Abrams is not going to let Superman get jobbed. He is not going to let Superman get jobbed. I mean, that doesn't mean Superman can't be tricked or can't be put into a bad situation. No, like that. But the straight up jobbing like they did in the Supergirl show to Superman, that is something J.J. Abrams will not let happen. Because if they did straight up job him, yeah, Mason, I would completely walk out of the theater. I'm sorry, Superman just means too much to me. I mean, that is the granddaddy of all superheroes. You job that Superman again, man, I am totally just like walking out of there. All right, what's next?
Sam Fisher says, is there a deeper meaning to Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange 2 filming at the same time, or is it a scheduling coinkydink? I think it's the latter, because if there was a reason they would both be filming in the same place, I just had to ask the question.
There's something you got to keep in mind, Sam Fisher. We are now in a different era of Marvel production. There was a time when we had a Marvel film a year, then 2, then 3. Right now, here's what we have in the books. And this isn't even exhaustive. Okay? We have, coming out, we have Shang-Chi. We have Eternals. We have Black Widow. We have Doctor Strange 2. We have Thor, Love and Thunder. We have Falcon and Winter Soldier. We have Loki. We have Hawkeye. We have Miss Marvel. We have She-Hulk. We have Moon Knight. We have War Machine. We have Nick Fury. We have so much.
It's like 17
on the horizon right now.
We
have so much on the horizon right now. Now remember, Spider-Man 3 started production but listen, we are entering into a phase right now where there is always going to be multiple Marvel things shooting at the same time. That's just the new era moving forward. There is always going to be an understanding that each one thing takes 6 months to shoot. And if you want to take into consideration pre and post-production, we are always going to have minimum 2, sometimes 3 or 4 different projects in motion at the same time. So I agree with you, Sam. I think it is a coincidence because it's always going to be that way moving forward now. It's just always going to be that way. There's always going to be multiple things going. I don't know how Kevin Feige's going to do it, but he'll figure out a way. All right, what's next?
The Winter Jedi says, hey, John, WandaVision theory. What if the only way for Wanda to save Vision is to send him to another universe/reality using the Nexus, possibly even out of the MCU altogether? Would this tearful goodbye between Wanda and Vision set the right tone for a WandaVision ending?
Nope. It's got to be Wanda losing her damn mind. It's got to be a broken Wanda that sets her up for awesome badness. Moving on to Doctor. Now, look, they very well could do this. They very. By the way, and I don't even think this is the real Vision. You know that. I don't think this is the real Vision. I think even the last episode when he's talking to the cameras, and he says, "You know, I didn't even realize what I've been through. Man, it seems like that was a different person because it was a different person. It wasn't actually this thing that looks and talks and thinks it's Vision."
Yeah.
But I don't know, they could go that way. I mean, listen, they could very well go the cookie cutter, stereotypical paint by numbers, comic book ending, happy ending for everybody. They could, and they'll find a way to make it great. But I am very much more for that she's either got to sacrifice Vision again, or she's going to watch him be ended, and then the kids are going to get ended, and then what she thought was her brother Pietro's. I mean, it's just more bad stuff for Wanda. At least that's the way. I hope they go Shakespearean tragedy on this one. I really, really do. But it'll be great whichever way they go. Let's see how it ends up. All right, what's next?
Jesse says, I think a soft reboot of the CW Superman and not rely on the Arrowverse connections is good because someone like my dad who didn't watch the Arrowverse shows can jump into a show.
You're not quite done there.
A show about an iconic superhero like Superman and not feel left out.
Listen, there are things about the CW Arrowverse that I used to love and that I've loved. There's things that I've really not. One of the things I loved about this Superman thing is that there was not the slightest reference to anything else in the CW Arrowverse. Not one mention of Flash or Kara or Supergirl or anything else. Not the slightest mention. It really did feel very standalone-ish. And I really hope for this Superman show that they continue in that direction. At least that's my hope. All right, what's next?
Dexstar says, I know that the comics aren't the movies and I never really care for speculating because it just gets your hopes up for nothing. But I theorize that at least the name mutant comes up in the Eternals, seeing as it is through their lore that the X gene came in.
It depends on the iteration of the story you're talking about because that's not 100% true. I know what you're saying. I'm just saying it depends on your iteration of things. I wouldn't be shocked either. I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be a little surprised, I'll be honest with you, but not completely shocked. Listen, everything we're hearing about this Eternals thing now, I am getting damn excited, especially with Chloe Zhao. I mean, she's probably going to win the Academy Award for Best Director this year for Nomadland, and right now she's the odds-on favorite. She's the Vegas favorite right now for Nomadland to win the Best Picture at the Academy Awards. I'm not even paying attention to the Academy Awards this year. It's too much of an asterisk year. But that being said, if they actually curtail at least a little bit into that, I wouldn't be surprised. Listen, you might be right, Dex. You may be right. And I'll tell you, maybe I'll still be a little bit surprised, but not totally shocked. Okay, what's next?
Twan says, I'm still pretty annoyed that I just didn't get the sequel to The Last Jedi that I would have loved. I mean, I loved most of the other Disney Star Wars movies, but my God, Rise of the Skywalker, while a fine movie, just Colin Trevorrow's draft was better.
Listen, you know me, I am a big fan of the Disney era Star Wars. Not nearly as big of a fan as the original trilogy. I mean, the original trilogy is sky high above everything that's been done, but I loved The Force Awakens. I loved Rogue One. I really liked Solo. I liked The Last Jedi. And then of course, Mandalorian but oh my God, The Rise of Skywalker. It's just, I made an entire about 30-minute editorial video that was, I can't remember the exact title of it. It was basically a Disney Star Wars fans perspective on why The Rise of Skywalker is a failure. and it's all subjective. It's only my own point of view, but it comes down to, it was the ultimate culmination of them never having a plan. And all the problems with that movie all go back to not having a plan and just pulling things out of their ass as they go. And it just was inconceivably bad. I mean, not the worst movie I've ever seen or anything like that, but such a drop off. And it's really too bad, because I really do like the other Disney Star Wars movies, some a lot, but Rise of Skywalker was just, oh my God, so bad. It's so bad, unfortunately. All right, what's next?
Byron Dunn says, much as I think No Way Home will have multiverse shenanigans, the title might mean there's no way back for Peter to have a secret identity again. I hope they don't reverse it. I love how MCU Spidey is different from comics Spidey.
You know, I love that. I love that theory, that it's not a literal no way home. It's like there's no going back sort of thing. I'm not saying I agree that that's what they're doing, Byron, but I love that point of view. I mean, that could be something very interesting. Personally, I believe they're very quickly going to get past this whole Mysterio outed him as Peter Parker. They'll figure out a way to fix that very fast. Very fast. Whether it's just the government saying, like, because, you know, S.H.I.E.L.D. was working with them and saying, no, actually, that's not Peter Parker. Or just have a Skrull look like Peter Parker for a minute. While the real Peter's swinging across a Spider-Man. There, fixed. I don't know this, but I honestly think that whole, oh no, the world knows that Peter's Spider-Man is going to be fixed in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Really?
I really don't think it's going to have anything to do with the overall story of the movie. I think they're going to fix it just like it was just introduced and dropped in there really quickly at the end.
Yeah.
It's going to be very quickly fixed at the beginning, and that's not ultimately what the movie's going to be about. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that's going to be a big part of the movie?
I just had a thought, and Byron, oh my gosh. Okay, so I was thinking, okay, so on Byron's wavelength, what if Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, in order to help him, come from different multiverses and be like, it's not this kid. Look, I have the same powers.
What?
Yeah, it's
I'm
not
Spider-Man.
this kid. I'm Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Man. Don't worry, guy. We got you. We got you.
A little bit of a Spartacus thing there. I am Spartacus.
Yeah.
No, I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's not the worst theory either.
Or
actually.
maybe
That was
get,
not bad.
give regular people like some things to say, this guy's crazy. You know, we're all
Or
Spider-Man.
just straight up discredit Mysterio.
Yeah.
Just straight up discredit Mysterio. So there's that too. Like, hey, by the way, we now know this guy was disgruntled Stark employee, Quentin Beck. He's not from another dimension. I mean, so one of those two ways, but I still really do think it's not going to be a major part of the story.
Because there is no going back after your superhero identity is revealed.
Truly out,
there is no going back home.
Unless they fix it very quickly. They say, no, it's not Peter Parker, and here's why. And you got Talos going, hello, I am Peter Parker. La 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 la. Yeah. While Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is swinging around, or Tom Holland's Spider-Man. They'll fix it. They'll fix it. All right, what's next?
Jose Hernandez says, this week would be the better one since I have been to movie theater. The last movie I watched was Invisible Man, and the next week they opened up the theaters in NYC around where I live.
So this year will be 1 year since listen, Invisible Man was one of the last ones I saw too. The last number of movies I saw were Invisible Man, and I think The Hunt is what it was called, where a bunch of people wake up in the middle of a forest and they're actually being hunted.
Oh, that controversial kind of. Yeah.
It wasn't great. It wasn't great. I was hoping that one would be better. And I also saw The Gentleman again. The Gentleman was my second favorite movie of 2020. I'm one of the only people that really thinks it's that great, but I really do think it's that great. And then I drove out to Vegas to see New Mutants, and then I drove out to Orange County to see Tenet. But that's the last time. I cannot wait to go back. And the next time I'm in theater is going to be for Godzilla vs. Kong. What was the last time you were in a movie theater?
Invisible Man.
It was Invisible
Man was the last one. I did one drive-in through the quarantine, and I saw Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. But no new movies, Yeah,
I went to the drive-thru a couple of times. We went to go see Apollo 13. We went to go see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and we saw one other once. And
kudos to all the people that put that on, because it
was so fun.
So many, unless you're a drive-in, in order to actually put one on. Like, people got really creative. There was one shopping center near where I live where with the price of a ticket, they included a $30 credit to a restaurant in that shopping.
Oh, beautiful.
And I was like, good deal. So yeah, kudos to the people that made it happen while we were all stuck.
All right, what's next?
Mischievous Gremlin says, hey, John, is there some clues in the titles themselves? There's a theory going around. Home Slice is referring to the pizza delivery Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Homewrecker is referring to Andrew Garfield Spider-Man wrecking the lives of Gwen Stacy's. Hold on, let me scroll up here. Mischievous family. And Phone Home is referencing Tom Holland Spider-Man, always calling Tony and Happy. What are your thoughts?
No.
That's cute.
No. I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. I'm not rejecting any sort of hidden messages like the colors in the Spider-Man titling. There might be something there. But no, I do not think those particular ones, Mischievous Gremlin, I don't think those are, because you can make that up for anything. You can make that up for anything. So no, I don't think that's it. Now, again, I'm not saying there might not be some hidden messages in and around the whole prank, but those ones in particular, I got to tell you, Mischievous, I do not think there's any validity to those ones at all. Now watch, that's exactly what they are, but I don't think there's any validity to those at all. All right, what's next?
James Argenta says, hey, John and or Rob, Kim, Aaron, it was announced a while ago that David Ramsey will be reprising his role as Diggle in Batwoman, Supergirl, Superman / Lois, and Flash, as well as direct several episodes this year. Do you think he will suit up as Green Lantern?
Well, of course, you remember that at the end of Arrow, Diggle finds this glowing green thing, which of course led everybody to believe that this is an entry into Green Lantern. And he might be, like, instead of John Stewart, it's Dig, right? So that could be. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he directs. He may have directed some stuff already, but the implication, again, we got no confirmation, James, but the implication, what they were implying was clearly Green Lantern. That's what they were implying. So whether they do that or try to write it off as something else or ignore it altogether, which we've seen it done sometimes, but I think it will be Green Lantern. So we'll see. All right, what's next?
Bobby Stevens says, I know the titles are self-contained, but my OCD is ticketed at the Spider-Man titles. No Way Home, Far From Home, Homecoming is how my brain wants it. Again, I know they aren't. LOL, love from Philly.
I mean, it's true. When you think about that, you look at it in that order, right? If you look at it in reverse, there's No Way Home because I'm far from home, but then you have Homecoming, right? It seems like it should be in reverse order in many ways, right? I get you. But obviously, these are self-contained titles that will be in reference to things going on in their own individual movie. But Bobby, I got to tell you, man, I've never thought of looking at it backwards like that. And it would have made its own very unique narrative that way, just with those titles. Well, good observation, man. Well done. Well done. All right, what's next?
Zom Gruler says, I tried Zevia. It's not for me. Sticking with seltzer. Binged Kim's Convenience. Loved it.
Nice.
Was summer 2019 the last time you were with fam? I hope you go. 2 years is a long time to not see your family. And have you considered cruises as an alternative to flying?
Oh, I've been on cruises. Look, I don't like flying, but I fly. Like, I've never not done something that I needed to do because it involved me flying. I don't like it, but I get on the plane all the time. I fly quite often, as a matter of fact. But I hate it when I have to do it, but I do it all the time. And yeah, summer 2019 is the last time I saw my family. That's why, I mean, the whole pandemic of 2020 and everything.
Wow.
And it's been difficult. And that's one of the reasons why Ann and I bought my parents the Echo Show. So we could just talk to each other that way. But the very first thing I'm going to do once things are lifted, particularly the 2 week, is if I travel to Canada right now, I have to go into quarantine for 2 weeks. I can't even leave. Like, if I enter, I can't quarantine for 3 days and then leave. I have to stay for 2 full weeks, and I can't do that.
Oh.
So the very first thing, though, once these quarantine rules lift, is I'm going to go visit my family. That's the very first thing. It's been a while since I've gone this long without seeing them, so I hope I get to do it again soon. Anyway, thanks for those well wishes, Zom Gruler. I appreciate that. All right, what's next?
Darth Ram says, I remember about 10 years ago, I had played a game of trivia with my friends. The game was to name as many actors as possible who are famous for playing both a comic book character and a drama character. Now that game takes a couple of months to answer.
Yeah, well, I mean, the funny thing is, even back then,
That's funny.
comic book most actors have done something dramatic before.
Yeah.
Now the game is name the actors who have played multiple comic book roles. That's the game now. So there's a couple of obvious ones. There's Chris Evans, who played Johnny Storm and Captain America. You have Idris Elba, who has been in a couple of, like, he was in Losers with Chris Evans, and he was Heimdall, and he did another one, I think, at any rate. Then, of course, you got Ryan Reynolds, who played Deadpool and Green Lantern. There are a couple of more. I'm trying to remember. Josh Brolin, yep, Thanos, and he was in the Western one, Jonah Hex. And he was in Deadpool. And he was in Deadpool.
Cable.
So he's a triple threat one in comic book material. And see, that's the game now.
Jimon Hansu.
He's in multiple. So he was in Guardians of the Galaxy.
A couple.
He was in Aquaman.
This is a fun game. Take a shot.
He was in Shazam. So that's 3.
Oh yeah, Shazam.
Yeah. He was the wizard. He was the wizard Shazam. So that's 3.
Plus the past 5 years he's been in several.
Yeah, Jimon Hansu. He's the man. I love John. Yeah, so that's the new game now.
I shall play this game with my movie friends.
All right, what's next?
The Wakandan Forever says, he's just a common man, working hard for the man. If you're black or white, redneck, funky, that's all right. Grew up on soul. Call the man, he's got a goal. He's the American dream.
Rhodes.
Watch EW, Cody and Dustin Rhodes, Gold and Stardust, Dusty Son's legacy lives.
Yeah, it is kind of inspiring when you see what Cody Rhodes has done. So Cody Rhodes, brother of Dustin Rhodes, and of course, son of Dusty Rhodes. He went on and he decided, you know what? WWE basically has monopoly. And he got a major money investor, and they started their own wrestling federation called AEW, and they're doing really well. And so it is kind of neat watching those two brothers doing things. And a lot of like former WWE wrestlers now see it as an option. They've left WWE and gone over there. It's a really interesting thing when you look at it. All right, what's next?
Don't fall in public, says, hey everyone, love the show. If things remain on track and theaters open, how long do you think it will take to determine what constitutes a box office success?
Yeah, that's true, because once everything is open again, you got to know right away. You cannot evaluate results based on like 2019 way. It's going to be a little bit of a sliding scale for a while, right?
Yeah.
So like if Black Widow comes out, let's say it makes $500 million. Now, Black Widow came out in 2019 when Disney was putting out billion-dollar films left, right, and center. That would be looked at and people go, what went wrong? But really, $500 million would be huge. If it comes out and makes $500 million, I think you have to look at that as a stunning success. Stunning success. I don't know if there's any way they do it. Now, I think more likely it's going to be around 375, 400 million, which is, more than they would have made if they didn't. And then they'll go on and put it on Disney Plus later. But yeah, I think Don't Fall in Public, you're right. There's going to have to be a little bit of adjusted expectations, because once the theaters open, number one, they're not going to be open to full capacity.
Nope.
Number two, it's going to take a while to raise awareness with the public that theaters are open, everybody. We're back in business. And then number three, there's going to take a little while for people to want to go back into the movie theaters.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of people like me that are like drooling, get those theater doors open so I can rush in.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some people that are like, oh, I really want to go to the movies, but I'm going to wait to see if any big outbreaks happen as a result of people going to the theaters.
Yes.
So you got to take all that into consideration. So yes, Don't Fall in Public. I think it's now let me ask you this. Now, it's just me and my wife live alone. We don't live with one of my parents or one of my grandparents. So there's a lesser responsibility. But, once the movie theaters in LA open, what is it going to take, or how long do you think it's going to take for you to go, I'm going to go back to a movie theater. What do you think? Because you live in a bit of a different circumstance than I do.
Yeah. I live with my family, which I love, by the way. Luckily, my family is like amazing. Thank you, God, because yikes. 9 months at home. Whoa. But also, I live with my 85-year-old grandmother as well. And so she's hopefully getting vaccinated here in the next few weeks. So it's different. Last year, I'm a movie person. I go all the time. Last year, I was even friends that were like, we're going to go to the park and we're going to social distance. I said no, because I'm like, I could never forgive myself if I brought something home to her. But now that I know she's getting vaccinated, it does change things for me a bit. So for me, honestly, I don't see myself going to the movies until probably 2022.
Oh, so you think like another 10, 11
because I
months
want
for
to
you.
see how it goes. And I want to remember, because in the UK, there was that new strain or whatever that ended up not being a big deal. But I want to see how it goes in an enclosed space with people coughing and sneezing, whether you have your mask on or not. I want to see how it goes. I want to see is there another outbreak. I want to see did something mutate. I want to hear from my friends who are moviegoers. Are the kids at the movie theater actually cleaning, or did they lag? Did you go in and there was a cup just sitting there and germs? You know, how's staff doing? I want to see. I've accepted that it's going to take a while.
All right.
I've accepted it.
All right. What's next?
This comes from Please Fall in Public. Love the show. My guest for the cameo is Blade. It's not Luke level, but Mahershala was announced as Blade around the same time the Phase 4 movies and series were announced. And he's had nothing to do with the MCU since. Why else announce a casting that far out?
Well, first of all, I brought that point up myself. Please Fall in Public. I've brought that up myself. Like, that is one reason to look at it that way. However, there are two things that work against it too. They announced Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Black Adam 5 years ago.
That's right.
5 years ago. I was there. I was in Las Vegas in the Celine Dion Theater at Caesar's Palace at CinemaCon when the Warner Brothers execs were on stage and they brought out Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
That's so
and he
cool.
talked about how he's going to whip some candy asses and all this kind of stuff. It was glorious, let me tell you. That's been 5 years.
Oh, man.
So it's like, you know, he sees Mahershala Ali. Man, they announced me like a year and a half ago, and Dwayne Johnson's like, that's adorable. So there's that. But the other problem, of course, is this with a lot of other things. There's no story connection there. There's no story connection. Like, Blade showing up is, what does that have to do with WandaVision or anything going on in WandaVision? It has no connection. It has nothing to do with it. So that's why I would say no. But Mahershala Ali showing up would be huge. And you're right, they did announce him a while ago, so maybe this is what they had in mind. So listen, it's possible. It's not the stupidest theory. It's not the craziest theory I've heard, but because of all those things, I really doubted it's him. But if it does happen, we'll remember you said this, please. All right, what's next?
Jalen Pryor says, okay, John, I know your love for Man of Steel, but for me, Logan is number 1. Man of Steel is second and Hancock is third. If you had to pick one scene to watch for the first time between Superman saving his mom from Zod on the farm or Logan saving Laura, which you pick?
Okay, listen, I'll tell you right now, Logan is a better movie than Man of Steel. I think Man of Steel, I don't think Man of Steel is the single greatest comic book movie of all time. I think it's one of them. And I think it is easily the most underrated comic book movie of all time. That is, to me, no discussion. But Logan, to me, is a top 3 greatest comic book film of all time. To me, there are the 3 greatest comic book movies of all time are, number 1, The Avengers. I think the first Avengers is the greatest comic book movie ever made. And then in the 2 and 3 spot, in whichever order you want, I don't have them in any particular order, but is The Dark Knight and Logan. Logan is a masterpiece. Logan is an absolute masterpiece. And so but I'll tell you what, if we're just picking moments, the moment when when Zod and the Kryptonians are trying to mess with Superman's mom and he shows up, I'm like, oh, he's going to fuck you up. Oh my God, you made a mistake. And he's like, yeah, you threatened my mother. And I'm like, oh my God, that is a moment.
That's a moment.
I think it's better than that other moment. The Logan with the kid is great. That is great, saving Laura. But that moment I take that moment. Even though I do take Logan as an overall movie over Man of Steel, that moment in Man of Steel is like, I'm not going to lie, man. I get pretty excited thinking about that one moment. All right. What's next?
DJ Smars says, hey, John, what do you think the chances are of Wanda appearing in Spider-Man No Way Home? I believe Benedict Cumberbatch is already announced to appear in it.
I'd say solid 40% chance. Solid 40% chance. Look, we already know that there is a story arc. WandaVision, Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange 2. We know Spider-Man is going to be in Doctor Strange 2. We know Wanda's going to be in Doctor Strange 2. We know Doctor Strange is going to be in Spider-Man 3. What's the one thing left there? Well, there's two things left. Spider-Man showing up in WandaVision, which I don't think is going to happen, and Wanda showing up in Spider-Man 3. I'm not going to say that the odds are that it will, but I will give it a solid 40%. If you had to give it a percentage chance, what are you saying? Of Wanda showing up and appearing at least momentarily even in Spider-Man 3.
It's totally 50-50.
Yeah, really close to mine. Yeah. It's close.
Yeah.
It's close. All right, what's next?
Balam Garden Seed 87 says, hey, John, shout out from Sydney, Australia.
Nice.
Been watching your shows since the start of WandaVision and haven't missed one since.
Oh, so you're relatively new. Thank you so much for coming along, man.
Just wanted to say how much I enjoy listening to you and the rest of the crew you have appear beside you on the show.
Listen, Blam B Garden. All right, listen, seriously, it's always so awesome when somebody wants to write in just to say something encouraging and kind, and for no other reason. So thank you for that, and thank you for being one of our new viewers, being a new part to our community. Thank you so much. That was really nice of you to consider to write that in. And you're coming at just the right time because we got Kimberly here now doing these videos too, which is a really good time for you to come in. So again, thank you so very much. We really appreciate that, man. All right, what's next?
Micro Trouble says, hey, JC, enjoyed your show over the pandemic. First time introduced to you. And after all this, hope to go to my first Comic-Con ever.
Oh, nice.
Due to your show. I'm hoping to see Kay Reeves riding into WandaVision as Ghost Rider to save the day. Won't happen. Sexist Canadian ever. I can dream. LOL.
I mean, listen.
Yes, he is.
There are theories that Keanu Reeves is going to pop up. Some people think it's going to be Mephisto. And listen, there's reason to think why that might be possible. Kevin Feige has talked openly and publicly that he is, for a couple of years, try to figure out a way to get Keanu Reeves in. And Reeves has said, yeah, man. And Keanu Reeves and Kevin Feige have talked. So that doesn't mean he's going to show up, but it totally means the door's open there. And if Mephisto is in the show, which we don't know, but if he is, he's got to be played by somebody, right? So maybe it's Keanu, maybe it's Al Pacino, I don't know, but it is not the craziest theory.
No, it's not.
Okay, I'm just going to take it from the smile on your face. You would be open to the idea of seeing Keanu Reeves pop up in WandaVision?
Keanu Reeves could be the cable guy that fixes the TV show to make sure it's still broadcasting. And I would be like, keep him forever. I'm the biggest Keanu Reeves fan in the world. I would love to see him do anything. So, yeah. All
right. I think this is our final question. What's next?
Cam K says, hey, John, not sure if you remember, but you debunked a multiverse statement of mine about Peter referring to the multiverse that came from Endgame, but that's not true. There was no connection to Endgame there at all. Peter said, there's a multiverse?
But that's exactly, here's the thing. That's exactly, he said that in response to the explanation about the alternate timelines and things like that Nick Fury was referring to. So yeah, he was talking about that. I mean, listen, I could be totally wrong. I'm not willing to stake $100 on that or anything. But as a fan watching it, when I'm watching it, it seemed pretty clear to me that that's what they were talking about. And so when Peter brought that up, he was saying that in response to those references. So, I mean, hey, listen, we may find out in the next thing is not. Again, I'm not ride or die with that theory whatsoever, not in the least. I'm just saying that as a fan sitting there watching it, that's how it struck me. And maybe that's the way it is. Maybe it's not. We'll find out together pretty soon. All right, guys, that'll do it for this installment of the companion video. We're all caught up now on all the questions. Thanks a lot for sending those in, guys. Thank you for watching this video and spending some time with us. Special thank you to all of you guys who sent in these questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys very, very much for that support. And I also want to thank our own Kimberly Curran over here for being here. Kimberly, thanks again for being here. You're always a ray of sunshine.
Thank you. Thank
Where
you.
can people follow you online if they want to follow you on social media?
I'm on Instagram at WUZ Good Kimberly, KIMBERLY.
Which you can see right below her there on the screen right now. Thanks so much. And of course, you guys can follow me on social media simply, on Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Just follow me at John Campea. That'll do it for us for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until tomorrow, my friends, bye-bye.